Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great day of the Women's Speed Chess Championship. Today, my co-caster is Keti Tsalashvili. I'm sorry, did I?
Very good. Very, very good.
All right, I'm super excited to be casting with you today. Do you have any predictions, anything you want to say about today's amazing event?
I'm very happy to be here and to have co-commentator like you. I was really looking forward for this day, and about the prediction, I have no idea how it's gonna go because it's online chess. Anything can happen. But what I know about these two players, they are extremely strong. That's why they were invited at this tournament, and both players are. The female players who are holding the highest chess title, that's a grandmaster title.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's gonna
I'm
be
super excited for everything. It is the round of 16. So, we got some exciting things happening. Whoever wins here is going to move on. We can show you guys the format for the main event here. We got the round of 16 currently, and then the quarterfinal, semifinal matches are going to be divided into the 3 segments, 75 minutes of 5+1 today, followed by 45 minutes of 3+1, followed by another 25 minutes of 1+1. So quite a long day. Hope everybody stays super hyped for some really high quality speed chess.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody is looking forward to the final parts, 1+1 games.
Absolutely. And they're not just here to play chess. Of course, that's the main thing, but we also do have a lot of prizes. The prize fund for the entire event is $58,000, and all the way through first to 16th place all get prizes.
Yeah, and look at the first prize, $20,000.
$20,000, yes.
Oh my God, somebody will be really, really happy women soon and ready to shopping a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have some predictions, I would say, for the overall kind of the event. Hui Fan is one of the star players of this session, Women's Speed Chess Championship, sponsored by FIDE and, of course, with chess.com here. Today's games will be very, very exciting, but it's also really important to remember that it is a knockout, which means if you lose your match, you don't get a second chance, unfortunately. So it kind of is quite a brutal format, I would say. But, no matter what happens, we're going to get exciting games, right?
Yes, indeed. And they have also the prize days for even 16th place. So
exactly. So guaranteed prizes already. Yep. So as a reminder, today's match will be between Alexandra Kosteniuk and Harika Dronavalli. As Keti has mentioned earlier, they are both grandmasters, and that is, in fact, the highest title you can get in, the lovely sport or whatever you call chess. In the game of chess, it is the highest title, and that is actually above the women grandmaster titles that Keti and I both hold. So these players are really, really good, in case you wanted the TLDR on that.
Yes. And they are actually among 18 players, 18 female players. Before it was 17, but now we already have Jansai Abdulmalik, 18th grandmaster. So proud for all of them. It's not easy to achieve this title.
Yeah.
Not for only female players, but also in general. This is, you need to have 25 plus rating. And also you need norms, which are not easy to get. About this match between Kosteniuk and Harika, there are some statistics, and I would like to maybe share some opinion about that and ask also our chat who they are rooting for. They have played not hundred of games, but very close to 100. And the result is that in classical chess, Kosteniuk is a point ahead of Harika, but they have a lot of draws. And in Blitz and Rapid Chess, they have played a lot of games, and also here the result is pretty much tie.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to speed chess, even though classical ratings can say a lot about a player, some people are just a lot better. Or, you know, they're on more unpredictable days, I would say, when it comes to speed chess.
True. That actually what happened in our first round when Conor Humpy, who is a really strong female chess player, lost the match versus quite young girl, Baby Sarah. There was something that I think not many people predicted, that this result will come here in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, upsets happen all the time, right? I'm sure we all know that coming from our own chess experiences, whether it's online or in person. We've all lost to people that we thought we could have probably won against. But that is the game of chess. You make a few mistakes, and you know, you make one mistake, sometimes your game is completely done. So the coverage is going to return in 2 minutes. We will go on a short break and hope to see you guys really, really soon. And the games are ready to commence. I hope everybody is super excited for today. I definitely know I am. You know, Alexandra Kosteniuk is a former world champion, and I can't quite remember, but has Harika's definitely done very well in the Women's World Cup. I can't quite remember her exact results, but the games are ready to commence. We got the games going on now, actually.
They're playing so fast, so quickly.
Yeah, it is 5+1. So
Yeah.
they're playing more like it's 1+1, I would say.
I thought for a moment maybe we had some changes here and we started with 1+1, but no, they are using every second they can use. All right, so we have Harika with white colors in the first game, Alexandra with black colors, and here we have the position.
Yeah, this is one of those kind of, positions where it's just completely crazy. And you have to remember, since it's a blitz game, right? Tactics is a little bit more difficult to find because you don't have as much time to spend. Although it is 5+1 and they've played 12 moves with using like 20 seconds. So I think both players will be spending a little bit of time here. I can see the eval bar creeping a tiny bit in White's favor. Nothing significant, but I do think, just positionally speaking, I prefer White's position here.
You prefer White. I like the move h5 here because this kind of moves wins a lot in the blitz games. They are scary. Like now White is using some time to think how to answer, to block it with h4, to react with just ignoring it, or oh, the bishop is dropped over there.
Yeah, the bishop is trapped, but I'm gonna argue I don't think it matters that much. It looks like, you can just probably play e takes d4, sorry, and there will be compensation. But I wanted to add on to your point, actually, Ketty. Playing the moves like h5 is very typical of Alpha Zero. Alpha Zero loves these kind of moves.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, getting more space, going for the attack, all of those wonderful things. So the bishop has come back to h4. We might see g5 here by black just trapping that bishop.
That's really interesting. If this is Alexandra's home preparation, he plays really fast. So very likely she knows what is this position. And meanwhile, Harika is thinking here. She's thinking here.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of those things where it's just like, well, the bishop is kind of lost. You do have compensation for it, I would say. Black's king is in the middle of the board, and there are two open files actually directly in front of the king. But you do have to consider, you're giving up a whole bishop for that kind of compensation. So whether or not it's worth, the eval bar does believe it's in Black's favor, but it's blitz, right? Anything can happen in blitz.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything can happen.
And here we have, there's no bishop anymore, but do you think White will capture this rook? I really like the knight on d6.
Yeah, I really like it as well. I think if you're going to play knight takes c8 after rook takes c8, there is going to be sufficient compensation. But, you can also argue that by after taking the pawn on d4, well, not quite yet because the bishop is protecting it, but you can just play rook e1, just slowly play around the weak king in the center, potentially push f4, f5 maybe. That is also
I like
okay. That is probably what Harika decided to do. I was gonna say playing knight takes c8 kind of almost brings it back to material equality, but since Black's king is in the middle of the board, you can also just play for extreme aggression. Just be aggressive. Ooh. Okay, so here is like tactics is kind of rife, right?
It's on the way. There is knight f5 that I'm sure White is considering here because it's check. But I love the idea with f4, f5. That's scary. That's scary. And here we have
f4, f5. Yeah, you pin bishop. We go for that bishop, right? Just very easy idea.
Yeah, and even if you get this king back on f8, f5 is still on the board because after bishop takes f5, rook e8 wins a queen. That's not a small material over here.
Yeah, this is just one of those things where it's like, okay, here we go. 2 minutes for Harika, 3 minutes on the clock for Alexandra. It's not like they started out with a lot of time to, in the first place, but as the clock ticks down a little bit more, you're more likely to see something kind of similar to a time scramble, right? Like you see time scrambles happen all the time in classical events and rapid events, and of course in a blitz game, it's a time scramble right from the start. So just keep exerting the pressure on black. This king doesn't really have anywhere to go.
Yeah, I really wish now that black castled that king earlier.
Yeah, both of the squares around the king is controlled. And, you got the rook on this open file. It's not like the king can come back to e7. You still have the f5 move coming in. This rook is now pinned. This rook can't come to e8. This bishop is blocked by its own pawn. This knight is still out of play. I mean, black does have that extra bishop, right? But Evel bar and
yeah. But also this knight on h7 does not really it does nothing. Let's say, and the rook also it does little bits, but not much. So that's why it's quite a big compensation here for whites.
So, I mean, one of these positions, something that I think is really, really important to remember is that because white is down, an entire piece, right? You got to play pretty actively. Black is still trying to make things a little bit more complicated. The engine really did not like the b4 move.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed because I just wanted to suggest before b5, but I saw this engine going down. And it's like, oh no.
Yeah, I mean, instead of before, I just taking a look, I guess. What I was gonna say is that you have to play kind of actively, even though it looks like black doesn't have a lot of moves. You do have to play a little bit actively, right? Because otherwise, black is just gonna expand on the king side. It's not like your own king is 100% safe. Now, if I'm going to suggest what should white play in this position, that's going to be a different story because, I myself would struggle a little bit with finding the right move. But bishop d5, not looking very good. I do think that there might be some bishop takes d5, c takes d5, and knight b5 ideas where you can just capture the rook back. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ideas here that are potentially really, really good for white.
Yeah, I agree with that. So bishop d5, it has an idea to get rid of the light square. Bishop, then open up the h file and, try something, something there. But on the other hand, white is the one who is attacking the king. And here we have knight b5 on the board. And
very logical, yes. But it looks like, once again, Evel Bar was not a huge fan, but it's okay. Well, we will play the human moves because it is a 5-minute game. You can't expect to play like an engine during a 5-minute game. And there's no expectation that Harika is going to play like Stockfish 13. So
and also they don't see this bar. So what really matters is how they feel, like how they evaluate the position. So sometimes you have a losing position, but you're so sure that actually it's winning for you that you have this, this spirit to win, and you are really successful in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, nobody is perfect. So it's not like Kosteniuk is defending perfectly here. Obviously, bishop to f6 didn't really stop any of white's threats. And white's threat was quite simple, right? You have a rook on c7 that you really want to capture as white. You're still down that bishop. Not that at this point it seems like it matters anymore because this king is so exposed, but this queen has to stay around this rook to protect it. If you play queen takes c6 in this position, then we are probably going to see rook c1. Yeah, rook c1 looks very, very powerful. And if you play queen takes c1, you have to remember your rook is still pinned, right? So this is just a free queen for white.
Oh no, that's a resignation for black. I think maybe queen c8 is the move black can play, but still this is not good. This is not good.
Yeah, this is looking a little bit rough. There's so many ideas here. I like knight d6 and queen takes d5. But once again,
Yeah.
you can take the rook, you can get the exchange back, but
Oh
I
my
wouldn't
god,
go
that
for
could
it.
be knight d6, knight f7. I
Oh,
thought it was
that
a
too.
checkmate, but it's good
Yeah, well,
enough.
the queen will move, but I mean, regardless. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not too sure about that. I would prefer knight d6, but going for the
Yeah.
material security is oftentimes, just knowing you won't lose is really good too.
Yeah.
That's kind of important. So it's just a better position for white. I would still say knight d6 back there instead of playing knight takes c7. Probably is a little bit more forcing, going for all of the other weaknesses in black's position. It's not like this rook is going anywhere, right? But
Yeah, exactly. The thing is that when you have already seconds on the clock, you don't really consider any candidate moves. So
right.
you're just, you have one move and you just want to make sure that you are not losing with that. So
Yeah.
it automatically happens.
And we're going to take a look at their faces. Alexandra looking very, very intense. And we have the forehead camera from Harika. Any foreheads in the chat?
Forehead.
Yeah, it's a forehead camera. I nicknamed it that the other time because
that's the chess player's favorite.
Yeah,
camera.
it's a chess player favorite, right? Because you're playing on a laptop, so the laptop, anyways, it's just camera angle. It's just camera angle, but.
Well, Alexandra is a streamer. She knows how
yes.
how to look.
Yeah, she has that camera fixed a little bit ahead. Yeah. But over here, I think it is going to be. Wait, what?
What happened?
Oh no, Harika just ran out of time. And Harika barely had a response. She was just like, oh, I did that. And immediately moves on to the next game. Wow. Okay, that was extremely unexpected. I was just commenting on the camera for about 5 seconds and Harika did run. You have to remember, it is 5+1. So
yeah, 1 second is really tricky. It's really tricky.
Yeah, the 1 second is very tricky. You do have to, it basically stops you from flagging, right? But even then, it's if you just don't play one move, it's just incredible to play on that. But Alexandra is kind of known as a very strong blitz and bullet player. So I would say a lot of time scrambles are going to favor Alexandra a little bit more, but Harika has had really good positions so far. She was winning the whole entire, more or less the entire game. So this will be a very interesting match for sure.
Yeah, it's also very specific to play online chess, and here I believe that Alexandra has more experience than Harika, this really matters here. This really matters, especially in the other time controls, 3+1 or 1+1. That's gonna be, I think, advantage for Alexandra.
Yeah, absolutely. This is pretty comfortable position for Harika. I would say some opposite side castling always leads to exciting attacking games in in chess. So, black has that half open file, white also has that half open file. We're gonna see some rooks piling up soon.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go. This is looking good. The idea is so simple, right? When you have a half open file, it's just, you put your rooks on it, they control it, and you just see who's faster. Usually, that's kind of how it goes.
What really bothers here for me is the light square bishop for Harika. That is really bad piece. Let's be honest, that's a really bad piece. And on the other hand, the bishop on e3 can be really active. And here we have bishop g5, pinning the knights. We might see some bishop h6 as well. Not necessary now.
Right. So in the French defense, right, the light square bishop is very well known as the French bishop because it is quite useless. This has nothing against French people, but it's just that it comes out slower and it's got to come onto a6, and this is how you actually develop the bishop usually. Right now there's no light bishop for it to be traded off, so you just gotta move it out and just try to put it somewhere. A lot of places you could possibly put it on.
Oh, queen d5. She wants to get this queen on a2, maybe.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that.
I don't know if we're gonna see a king to. Oh, all right. Yeah, the instant recapture.
Right. What is her idea after rook f7?
Yeah, I'm not sure actually. After rook f7, I mean, you're still worried about queen to a2, I guess. Maybe some king to b1, potentially knight to c5. It looks like a pretty. I would not say. I would say it's a very dynamic position. That's what I would say. And even though the eval bar shows roughly equal, it's one of those positions where both sides have a lot of chances.
Yeah. Oh, here, if queen goes on a2, I think what Alexandra is really calling for is queen d8, rook f8, and rook g7 sacrifice.
Yeah,
I think that's what she wants here. If queen leaves d5 square.
quite intense things happening.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just want this bishop out of the way, right? Like,
Yeah.
this bishop is being the most French bishop it could ever be. It is the definition of why I personally am not a fan of the French opening for beginners, because I think it's a little too difficult to handle the piece, right? Like it's realistically quite difficult to handle the piece. Now that doesn't stop some people from playing the French, but I will still always say that it's not my recommended opening for beginners. Yeah.
Yeah. Myself, I play Caro-Kann, and we have also French bishop over there, and it's in many openings that bishop is on stage is real deal for black player.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in some Sicilians, it becomes a really big
Catalan
deal.
As well.
Yeah, the Catalan as well. A lot of different openings. This light square bishop becomes a really big issue. But the Caro-Kann is the better version of the French, because you get to figure bishop out. But you know, well, this. Okay, so if black plays queen to a1 and king to d2 and queen takes b2, then you actually have a perpetual for white along.
Yeah, but hold on, b2 pawn is hanging with a check, and then.
All right, you don't even need a check. Yeah, you can just take it. You can just take it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not there. King to d2, but
and
you don't have any
d4.
checks. Right, you have queen. Oh no, you can't.
Oh no, I don't have.
Queen. Yeah, that would be a bonus gambit. We don't want those. Not today. Not today. Right, so that pawn is protected. So black actually has no checks. After queen takes b2, which is probably why this idea will potentially work. Okay, so I do predict the draw right now. Just queen here and perpetual, because I don't see anything further here for white. Yeah. This is
if
the perpetual.
rook comes on defense on d2, there will be a checkmate.
Yeah.
Or even g2 rook is not.
Yeah, g2. This is
queen
also.
b1, queen c2.
Yeah. If rook to f8, there's rook takes g7, and then there will be. So I'll show this very brief. Okay, well it is a draw, but very very briefly. If rook to f8. Okay, well, you know what? I won't show it, but you guys can all imagine. I'm sure you all remember the position from last game. If rook goes back to f8, there's rook takes g7, king takes g7, and I haven't calculated this through, but it doesn't look that good for black. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think there's queen here.
Queen e7, rook g1. Yeah.
Okay, there has to be something here, so it just doesn't look very good for black. All right, I got first move f4. This is pretty much like a reverse Dutch. Well, actually, it's the bird's opening. What's bird's opening?
Actually, Harika plays that time to time f4 move, and I believe that it might be her blitz repertoire, maybe, just to avoid the main lines. And you have a plan just to get to center, castle the king, and then here white might play on the queen side with knight c2, a3, b4, or white can also start to play on the king side somehow to manage to push h3, g4, g5, and so on.
Yeah, a lot of different ideas here. I mean, playing f4 is a bit like playing the Dutch. If anybody here plays the Dutch, then you'll be familiar with the ideas that it basically gives a position that is less. Well, I don't want to be the one to call hyper modern Nimzo Indians and Queen's Indian boring or Queen's Gambit's boring, but it does provide a little bit more entertainment than a lot of the classical openings that a lot of people tend to choose, including myself. So F5 is kind of like your go-to fighting opening if you kind of need to win as black, because otherwise it can be a very equalish sort of position.
Yeah, and they have played so many games already against each other, and basically they're playing the main lines where the Terry goes to up to 30 move, and then both sides knows that's draw. So they're choosing now really sharp setups, and that's quite normal.
Yeah, honestly, I know absolutely nothing about Dutch theory. This is completely out of my book. I have no idea what's going on.
So that means that you are a E4 player.
Yeah, I am actually. I actually only play one opening, as my Wikipedia really loves mentioning, and my chat really loves mentioning. I only play the Spanish, and I've been playing the Spanish since I was like 3. So it's the only opening I've ever played in my entire life.
Yeah. You were playing chess when you were 3?
Yeah, I started quite young.
What was your first words? Queen.
Well, something along those lines. Yeah, probably. It was probably French though, because I learned it in France. But yes, yeah, it was along those. But I mean, this position is fun because like you already know what you're gonna do, right? It's like this. It's either F5 at some point or G5 at some point. So
yeah, what Black is trying here is to get this set up with F6, knight F7, and then push A5 to somehow control the king side.
Yeah, you also probably want to expand in the center, right? Like just because it's a middle game doesn't mean you ever gave up on your original like kind of theory that goes with chess, which is control. Yeah, control the center, right? Like the entire game, you just want to control the center. It doesn't matter which stage of the game you're in. Even in end games, really, you want to have your king centralized. You want to have your pieces centralized. You want to be able to jump anywhere.
Yeah. Here's a question: is these games rated on Chess.com? Because Kosteniuk's rating is really scary right now.
Yeah, I love Kosteniuk's rating actually. The last 3 numbers are something I will not mention, but yes. I do believe they're rated on chess.com. I don't know if it affects their FIDE rating. I'm not super familiar with it. Okay.
That's for sure not.
Yeah, so as Ketty has actually mentioned previously, the knight does come to c2, but not before you push the pawn, because once again, this pawn isn't going anywhere, right? Like you can't defend it. We got 3 pieces on it. Queen to a5 is not going to do anything. So whether or not you play knight to c2 and then b4, well, even if you play knight c2, you might face b4, but
yeah,
that's why you can just straight up play b4 and then play knight c2 and then take the pawn back, and all of a sudden this bishop is a little bit less useless. And I mean, this is a possible trade of pawns, but position seems pretty balanced. I would say you probably don't want to actually do that trade of pawns. I would say the center pawn is a little bit more important because yeah, this is just an isolated pawn. If you lose that pawn, you're suddenly going to get 3 pawn islands if this one was gone.
Yeah, and then d4 will be potentially really weak pawn in the center.
Exactly. Pawns are the soul of chess. Until it becomes 1200 level games, then nothing matters. But you know, it's all right. In these games, Alexandra and Harika are probably a little bit more aware about their pawns, and you know, they don't want to make these trades that do not favor them. Gotta remember that.
A3, just to defend that pawn.
Just to protect everything, keep everything secure. This is a very nice symbiotic relationship between the pawn and the bishop.
Yeah, somehow I don't really like the coordination of the black pieces here. Bishop, knight, another bishop, they are so close, have not really, they don't have targets. And here Alexandra has to somehow bring this knight at least in the center. Maybe knight f7, knight e6. Oh, wait, a7 pawn is hanging.
Yeah, well, the pawn is still hanging currently. Yeah. I mean, you can defend it in a lot of different ways. I would say you can even play king to f8. But, you know, you do have to defend that pawn somehow. It's actually probably not that easy. I think queen a7 or king f8 would be my... Okay, or you can just not.
f5. f5, g5, knight f7, and bishop e7. That's first what comes to my mind.
That is definitely what I'm thinking about straight away. So just to make the moves on the board, this would, it does look like a free pawn. I'm not sure what I'm missing here. Maybe Alexandra assumes she has counterplay along the e file, which could be quite realistic because this pawn could potentially be weak. But currently,
knight g5 was played.
Knight g5. All right. Not quite sure what knight g5 does, in fact.
That knight wants to get the light square bishop, and then white are gonna have pair of bishop. But that's gonna cost a pawn.
Yeah, I mean, none of this looks particularly good for white, I guess. I mean, I guess nothing against it, but this knight's not really gonna go anywhere. Like, okay, sure, it is kind of stuck here now defending against this, and this knight's a little bit powerful. So I guess Harika's a quite aggressive player. She likes going for these, compensation sort of positions.
I would still go for e7 pawn. Very materialistic.
Yeah, true. I would have just gone for e7. I mean, she's seeing something I don't see. I would have gone for the pawn.
It's extra pawn, it's safe.
Yeah,
so exactly. That's all I want.
Can I capture it? I don't get checkmated next move? Okay, that looks good enough for me. I'm going to be 100% honest and say I don't know why Harika did not capture that pawn, but maybe we can ask her in the post game interview. But yeah, I'm this is just one of those positions where if people defend correctly, then it's gonna go trade off pieces, gonna go towards an end game.
Yeah, I really like here move bishop d2. She
played it.
Yeah, with idea of rook c1. And
if you play queen to c2,
yeah, that's gonna be rook c1. Yeah. And also, on the other hand, this queen is really overloaded because queen e6 is another threat that white is looking for. Also
has to defend the c rook. So quite a dynamic position, much like last game. Both players just have to be a little bit more aware of time as they're dipping below 1 minute. As a reminder, it is a 5+1. And there's still 48 minutes left in a portion of 5+1, so it's quite a long match. It's a really long match, in fact.
Have you ever played this kind of format?
I've actually never played in this format. I think I was trying to qualify for this event, and then halfway through, I just realized it's too difficult. I was scoring really badly in the qualifiers, and I was just like, yeah, maybe I'll just, go play Witcher or something instead. That seems like more my style. But this format is quite intense because you just have games after games, and especially as the time goes lower and lower, what happens to everybody when you get a little less time? You play a little bit less accurate. So the 3-1-1-1 games will be very interesting. Yeah. But we are going to this end game.
I think what Alexandra is trying here is just to trade as much pieces as possible. Maybe she's hoping for end game where, I don't know, maybe rook end game, and she might have more chances there to draw. But also knowing her, that's very not likely that she's even looking for a draw.
Yeah, I think both players are just playing for a win. And regardless of what they do, it is a draw, but you still have to be a little bit careful, right? Like the pawn is gonna, so Harika decided to take this one, which makes a lot more sense than taking the pawn on h7 because this actually undermines the knight on e3. Yeah. So this king can come over here, but it does give black the, or just capture immediately. I mean, I would say I'm a little bit scared here. This move is really good, just kicking the king back. This move. Yeah, it's really.
She's also cutting the king from f-file.
Okay, well, this is a coin flip now.
Yeah.
And I say it's a coin flip because they are very low on time. So rook end games are, generally speaking, a draw. But when you're low on time, it becomes more like, something you would witness at a Las Vegas casino rather than on a chessboard. So this is Well, it should be a draw. Okay, very,
It'll be
very,
a
very
draw.
good
However,
gameplay.
the king is really active.
Yeah.
White.
This is why I was saying, centralize your king.
Okay,
even in an endgame, you absolutely need to. All right.
Yeah, here we have
You have the draw?
King's Endgame.
Yes. Okay, and we're going into all right, the third game for today. We see another French, and we're gonna get the French bishop. Except this time it is Harika who actually is. Well, Harika is the one who. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, this is the. Well,
we don't hear anything. No worries.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening around me, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on. So we just, don't mention it. Toronto is always doing its own thing.
I had the same, not same, actually, even worse issues. I couldn't even start stream because my neighbors were breaking something on the top floor. No idea. And I started to stream because I had tea. And then I was just, I was muted and music was running. So
yeah, that's a mood. That's definitely a mood. What is this variation? I'm gonna be 100% honest and say this was the knight e2. I think Tartakower, but now I don't know what it is.
Oh, look at this. She went bishop f8 instead of bishop e7, which looks more logical move to not to get the bishop back where it started to play. But she is going to fianchetto this bishop from g7. Is she?
Honestly, I don't even think she's gonna fianchetto it. I think the bishop's just gonna be here. Because if you fianchetto it, it doesn't do much on the diagonal, right? You got like 2 pawns here, so I was gonna suggest maybe it goes on to h6, but I'm really not familiar. Oh, and here we get rid of the French bishop. This is the idea I was talking about the last game. That's really important for anybody who plays the French. But first of all, don't play the French. But second of all, if you are going to play the French, that is how you get rid of your light squared bishop. By the way, you put it onto a6 and you force white to swap it off. Really important because it's just not a good bishop for white. I mean, look at all the pawns that are on the light squares. But regardless of that, I think Harika spent too much time in the opening moving this bishop back and forth. If it's theory, I don't approve of it. If it's not theory, then I just don't approve of the fact that bishop moved around a bunch. But it's going to be difficult regardless for white to really make progress in this position, which is why it gives black the opportunity to do it, because it's a close position, right? In close positions, you have a little bit more time to do things.
Is there like g4 f5 scary thing for black or not?
I'm gonna say probably not. Well, now things have changed a little bit because you're potentially eyeing moves like c5 now, I think, as black, because the knight can no longer jump to b5. And no light square bishop, so white isn't like, you're always looking at these knight takes e6 ideas, but the knight on c7 is holding this so well. This reminds me a lot actually of a Spanish style position, except the knights are not on c7 and d7, but rather on f7 and g7, and they just hold all of black's position together. So right now these two knights are doing a great job.
Yeah, I like what black is doing here. Just fixing the structure, avoiding all the threats, and then also trading some pieces. If now we have queens off the board, that's very close to the end game. And in the end games, this pawn structure is way much better for black.
I do not like this move. I would have rather just kept. If you were gonna accept the queen trade, don't go into a worst endgame where all your pawns are on your bishop on the. Okay, so.
Yeah, exactly. And this black has a weapon, actually. c5 is really strong there.
Yeah,
I know from Karokan.
Yeah, exactly.
I know that as a fact.
Exactly. I mean, if you're gonna go into those kind of end games, like, just don't make your pawn structure any worse, right? Like, it's already in a worse end game, because your bishop is gonna be bad. It's a dark squared bishop. There's too many dark squared pawns for it to be really effective. But it just goes to show how if white doesn't make use of his advantage, her advantage, if white doesn't really make use of the advantage, then what can you really do, right? Like, just kind of going to these end games is making it quite unfortunate. But okay, so here we see, I like I said, I would still have suggested black to take the queen just to ruin white's pawn structure, but this is still a better endgame for Harika, strategically speaking.
Yeah. We might say something like rook c8, next move, just her final point will be c5 for sure, just to break down the queen's structure. But before that, maybe she will develop, she will just mannering the knight. I don't know about this knight on d7, or it's fine.
Yeah,
it's
maybe
actually
maneuver it somewhere else, but I mean, you're just trying to push
also
c5 at this point.
c5,
Yeah. I like, to be fair, I mean, these endgames can still get quite interesting because if black doesn't play them accurately, then there's a lot of weak holes that Harika does have. And you know, white does still have the 2 knights, but I mean, right now you're just playing against this bad bishop on f2.
Yeah.
And you might argue, actually, right, that the dark squared pawns are also making your opponent's bishop bad, which is fair. It is fair. But in an endgame, it becomes a little bit more difficult to protect all of your pawns if your opponent has that dark squared bishop. So it's actually really interesting because in a middle game, you want to put your pawns. This is like one of those general rules you kind of teach beginners, and then as it becomes more as chess, you know, as you learn more knowledge, that you start saying, "Yo, don't follow that rule." But
actually, you need practice to understand these rules. Because when I was a kid, my coach told me that it's not good to put the pawns on the same color as your bishop, but my brain thought it's actually perfect because pawns are defended. Perfectly defended.
Well, you see in the middle game, you want to put pawns on the same color of your opponent's bishop, but then in end game, you want to do the opposite. So it's a lot of these little chess things that you kind of pick up as you know. Well, I was gonna say get older, but then
you just need to experience all
you just need to experience. It's all about experience, Gab, not so much about the age. But yeah, white is just like, these rooks look so funny because they don't do anything. It's all in anticipation of black playing c5. Like, you might be asking, why are these rooks on the b file? You know, they're not going anywhere. But the idea is that black can never play c5, right? Because if you play c5, then all of a sudden these rooks come in and they start making your life really miserable. So rooks on the 7th, another very, very important rule that you should be learning as a total beginner. It's probably one of the first things I ever got taught. Rooks on the 7th or rooks on the 2nd, if you're black. Really powerful.
Agreed.
So that's the idea of putting the rooks on this completely not open file. The whole idea is just to stop black from playing c5. Well, slow progress coming in. We might see some knight g5.
All right, she goes for a4, a5. That's what she wants.
Yeah, I think the issue with a5 is that there's b5, right? But I think Harika is actually gonna have to defend here now. I think Alexandra is actually coming back a lot. It's looking like a much better.
What do you think about knight h7, knight h3, bishop g5 idea, just to get this bishop here on g5?
Yeah.
If you trade, that's fine for me. If you go passive on f8, that's still fine for me. I can then bring the knight back on f4.
Yeah, so something that I think might be...
I don't like b5 move.
Yeah, I mean, it just gives white this entire open file, right? So I think white is actually going to win now because... So there's this rule of 2 weaknesses in chess where if you have 2 advantages as one side, then you're probably winning. So I would argue that one of the advantages now here for white is the fact that this rook is so active. And the second thing I'm going to say is that, you know, black's rook, like all of his pieces are just very, all of her pieces are very useless.
Yeah.
So
and also why I dislike this b5 move is that black's here counterplay was c5. Like if you get worst position, you should look for a counterplay, and that was c5. And now you don't have it anymore. And this is only white's play here.
Exactly.
We will just witness how white can improve this position or can't and accept a draw.
Yeah, black's trying to do a little bit. Like, I don't think this is going to work.
95 maybe?
Yeah, this is a discover attack over here. it's just so painful. I mean, once it starts going downhill, it really starts going downhill, especially in a blitz game, because you just don't have the time to really secure your position. So
yeah, I also struggle with that fact. Like when it's a draw, just to accept it and not to get
keep pushing.
Yeah, no, draw is a good result. It's a half point and take it.
Yeah,
We're
a draw is better than a
good.
loss.
Yeah, it's a half point.
When the just win strategy doesn't work, you should just draw. That's what I like to say. I played this one bullet tournament, one of the qualifiers for Women's Beach Chess Championships, and I just ended up drawing, I think, every single game. So we are going to take a quick break, and you know, they have played quite a few games already. They already played 3 games, so it's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, stay tuned, guys. We're going to be back in approximately 3 minutes, and we're going to, you know, bring more coverage of today's Women's Beach Chess Championship match between Alexandra Kosteniuk and Harika Dronavalli. All right. And I had a voice break there, but welcome back, everybody, to the Women's CHS Championship. Both of the players are ready to go. They just had a quick break, and we're going to see the rest of this very exciting 5+1. I do want to say both players seem to have had a pretty similar playing style. What do you think about the game so far, Katie?
Yeah, they're going quite equal. Like they have some chances, there are some draws, and so on and so on. But I think everything will get more shaky in the end part of the round.
Yeah, I think there have been some pretty interesting games so far. I like to say that because even though we've been seeing quite a few draws,
Yeah.
it is quite exciting. And Harika did play first move F4 right before before they were put on break, but now she's actually changing to knight F3.
She changed it.
Yeah, she changed it because you know what you do during break. You look at your opponent's openings. So doesn't want to face that 5-minute preparation that Alexandra might have possibly pulled up, but just one of those openings that Harika is quite known for playing, not quite mainline, but probably knows a lot of her own theory in it. I'm just very unfamiliar, quite honestly, with what is going on here.
I think what Harika just did is she switched to her actual opening. She plays a knight f3 first move. That's ready opening. And I think that's also smart, like to play the openings that all the ideas, and just feel yourself in the position where you are.
I love the fact that you said that, because in my last tournament, the qualifiers for the World Cup, I asked my friend heads or tails, and heads was e5 and tails was c5. So he picked heads and I played e5. This is how I pick my
like that.
Yeah, I just decide like that sometimes. It's like picking openings is so difficult. There's this meme that chess.com put out the other day where it's like picking an opening is actually sometimes the hardest part about chess.
This is really good, Nama, because it means that you're good at both. So at least two. That's good. That's
I
good.
know.
That's better than to have one
Exactly.
option only.
Exactly. At least I know two.
Yeah.
But yeah, jokes aside, I mean, it is 2021. That means a lot of preparation is always put into these kind of like a lot of theories in preparation, right? Like you have to know these openings all the way down.
I have to be honest. When I interview female players and the male players are saying that I was remembering these lines when they are playing up to 40 moves.
Yeah.
And girls are saying that I forgot in here. So we forget things, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's okay.
Absolutely. I think
but we have another things like
Yeah.
instinct comes here, and we're also very good at tactics. And what is very important for me, that they are always fighting for a win, and we don't have some empty draws.
Absolutely.
And it's very, very much fun for me and for also viewers to see that.
Yeah, I think something else that's really important to point out, the difference between kind of high level preparation for women and men's. It's not so much that women are not, preparing as much as men, but men often, like the top level men, have a lot more resources that they can put towards seconds and people who are able to prepare for them. Like, can you imagine preparing 700 different openings with 30 move lines by yourself? Like, you just don't have the time for that, right? But whereas a lot of the men are able to have a bunch of coaches, so a lot of it does
they're
come
not actually
down.
preparing the second.
Yeah, they're not preparing themselves. Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
So,
and what's really cool, and also we have in this tournament, we have really high prize. So $20,000 for first prize here. That's something that it's not happening a lot. So it means that the winner can, save this money for her preparation as well, and hire a second, buy a good computer. So this is really good, like to have tournament where you can win money, to have a good coach, and also to have a second.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a very, very good point pulled out by Ketty. And it's awesome. It's really awesome how in this event, first of all, we are in the round of 16. This position is not does not contain a lot of things for me to talk about other than the fact, we got the pair of bishops. It's a very even position. But even if whoever loses this match basically will still get at least 1,000. So really, really well put together by FIDE and chess.com over here. But yeah, I mean, this position is quite well. Eagle Bar has said it's equal for the most, has been saying it's equal for the most part. Obviously, it's equal material. Both sides have, two pawn structures. Two pawn islands. For those of you who don't know what a pawn island is, if the pawns can hold hands, then it is one island. This pawn and this pawn can't hold hands, so that's not one island. So there are two islands over here. Yeah, that's how I explain it to kids, yeah, and my Twitch chat because they're like 4 years old. But anyways, the point is, equal pawn islands. That means it's roughly equal if it's the piece combinations also equal. I do think this favors white slightly, just because Harika does have this open file. This is okay. Well, I was gonna suggest queen to c7, but queen to c4 also makes sense. If you swap off, right, queen takes, then you got rook takes, and the rook comes, then you got rook c1, and you're going to have this. Well, this rook either has to move, and after which white is going to have complete control. So black definitely does not want that. But if Alexandra takes this rook in that situation, then white will have full control of this open file. And it's the only open file in the position. And
I would prefer to trade at least one rook, because one rook on 7th rank is bad enough, but two rooks on the 7th rank, that's almost a checkmate.
I think we've all been, it's not a mill. That's not the correct term. I forgot what the correct term for it is, but it's basically like the two rooks just start taking everything along your 7th. So it's definitely really important to swap off one of those. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be, let's see what, okay, so it has been traded off, and Alexandra has decided to just simply play rook to d8. Okay. All right, and this is a very good idea, just stopping rook to c7, but I do think rook c1 and rook c7 is still going to be incomingers.
I like that idea.
Yeah, there is hardly any ways for white to really...
Oh, b6. That allows black to trade some of the pieces, and rook endgames are not so bad.
Yeah, I would say this gives white better chances, just because this is going to be something that black is tied down to, and then these pawns on the 5th have the potential of being captured by the rook. But something that you definitely don't want to do was to play a6 after b6. So we're going to get this rook endgame. And actually a really quick explanation as well to why you don't want to play a6. This is basically positional suicide. Because if you play rook c7, you never want to take that rook, and then you're just going to get this pass pawn on c7.
Yeah.
So something else to remember. A lot of really interesting endgames today. Making me because I'm I'm a bullet player for the most part. So when you reach the endgame part, it's just how fast can you click pieces and hope your opponent flags. But
I like endgames because when I stream and when I play at the same time, that's the only way not to blunder badly. So I always try to trade out all the pieces and have the rook endgames. It's most common. So.
Are you really comfortable with playing endgames?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
for
not.
this reason that I don't have much pieces to blunder.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. It's I think a lot of people also feel the same way, but then they obviously you're a lot more experienced with endgames than the typical player who just picked it up. But a lot of people have this conception that endgames are easy to play, but they're actually some of the hardest things to play.
Yeah, so. That's actually the best strategy. I don't know if I should say that, but to when you play a lower rated player, it's the best to get out of the opening preparation very quickly, just to have something not tricky one
Mhm.
because most of the times they are ready with some traps, with some lines there. But if you get some boring position, then you can use all the skills and knowledge that you
Yeah,
have more than not very much experienced player. I'm
absolutely.
quite old. I'm quite old.
It's
I
okay.
can
You're
say
never old if you
that.
think you're young at heart, you know? Like, it's all about how you feel about yourself, really.
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to say it earlier. I saw a photo of you and Josiah playing
Oh,
at World Championship
oh,
in Vang Tao. Was it in Vietnam?
Von Tao, that was 2008,
I
yes.
was there as well, but I will not
Oh,
say in which
really?
category I was playing. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, for those of you who are wondering, Zalsaya is the latest woman to become a grandmaster. Straight up grandmaster. There's only a handful of women who have become grandmasters, and Zalsaya and I basically grew up playing the same tournaments. I think I saw her at every single World Youth, every single Open tournament as we were. Obviously, we took very different pots, right? But
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
quite fun.
it's
Okay,
pretty
this is going to
cool.
be a theoretical draw. Yeah, but
That's
that's really
pretty
cool.
pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
small world.
I also have this cup from Vang Tao. This
Oh,
um, crystal cup.
the trophy. Oh,
Yeah,
did you did
trophy.
you did you finish in top three in
Oh
that year as
yeah,
well?
yeah,
Oh, okay, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And that's actually the story that I was saying before in at my
Mm,
stream, that there was some sort of like tradition in my family. All the trophies and all
mm-hmm.
the medals and everything was going to my grandma because
Oh,
she is my biggest supporter,
oh, that's so
financial supporter
cute.
as well. So she had like a cupboard full with my trophies. So I was sending her everything I was winning. And
That's
I don't know how
amazing.
she managed, but she broke this cup
Oh no.
in three parts.
Oh no. It's all right. I think I have two crystal trophies and they both just don't exist anymore. I won't mention what I
Yeah,
did with
yeah.
them, but yeah, I don't actually have any of my trophies anymore. But
It
that's really
was the
wholesome.
most beautiful one I have received, but
Yeah, that one was 2008 Von Tao was
yeah, yeah.
we're talking about World Youth Chess Championships, which are, for youth, but we were in different age categories, so
Yeah.
yeah. Well, this looks interesting because has her king on that open file, but after knight to e7, got the castle coming through.
Yeah, what about d5 over here? D5?
I think if
Oh, no.
d5, there's
Knight
a
d5. Knight d5 and bishop h2 then. Knight takes, queen takes, and bishop h2.
oh yes, I see.
Mm.
We got the discovered attack coming in through. Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, so d5 is actually loses a pawn. I didn't even notice that one. Tactics. Okay, so knight to c3 does defend for d5, but black does have enough time to castle now.
Yeah, how do you feel about isolated pawn? Do you like to play with isolated pawn or against isolated pawn?
Oof, honestly, I'm just gonna say, I think my whole life I've struggled with those kind of pawn structures because as a Spanish player, you kind of get one position and you play that one position. So playing with isolated pawn is a lot of pressure because you have to not lose your pawn. Now, playing against isolated pawn is even more pressure because you have to like win that pawn, otherwise, it's a very unfortunate position. So
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have a preference? I assume you play a lot more d4 than I do.
Yeah. I have isolated pawn in many games, and it's just up to my mood that day. I enjoy both, but I'm pretty much a player who a moody player, let's say.
Moody player.
If I want to play some quiet chess, then I prefer to play against isolated. But sometimes I really feel comfortable to play with isolated pawn because it gives you so much space. You have some chances to attack the king side, and it feels good at that days.
Yeah. This is just one of those things where it's like I like hand holding pawns. Somebody just said in the chat. This is true. I like my pawns to hold hands. I think pawns just being by themselves is very makes me very uncomfortable because you just have to constantly be aware of them. But what Kelly said was 100% correct, right? Like we can see how Alexandra is making full use of this pawn and just moving it all the way up the board.
Yeah, this pawn
And
gives a lot of space. A lot of space.
exactly, gives a lot of space. But at the same time, it does become a little bit of a weakness, and it can't control the squares around it. So if black is able to use those squares around it, then
yeah. To be honest, I was just a bit slow to say that. I would not take this knight on e5. Instead play knight d4. Just when you have isolated pawn and you have more space, it's better to have pieces, so you get use of space. And here also, this knight on e5, g6, they are supporting each other, but also fighting for the same square. So black here wants to trade this knight for sure, because against the isolated pawn, it's good to trade the pieces and go to the end game, because d5 will be a weakness. And also, black pieces doesn't have enough space to, move around. And that's why knight d4 makes, I don't know, it looks better for me.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense, right? Because if you have space, you want pieces to occupy that space. It's like buying a big house, but you don't have a girlfriend and it's just you in that house. So that would really suck too, right? like you want to have people to habitat that house, and just like how you want pieces to have the space. So it doesn't really make much sense to be trading off pieces when
what is happening?
Okay, whoa. Whoa.
What?
Okay, this is I mean, when you see a queen and a bishop, right, and you see a pawn on h3, that's something that comes into mind. But
oh no,
I mean, going for it makes sense too, because you have this bishop. I don't know how effective this is gonna be.
Yeah, if here white takes it, and then I have no idea how she can defend. Bishop h2 checkmate. Bishop h2. Oh, hold on, it's not a checkmate, but
there's something very close. Something's got to happen, You are not going to calculate it, but you can calculate that on your own chat, but something's going to happen for sure.
Knight h4 then. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of
position is too good.
Yeah, a lot of things are just winning. I think it's quite self-explanatory when you don't have any pieces, right? So she did take it and decided to play f4. Really important. Once again, we already mentioned bishop h2 is probably lost. If white let bishop h2 happen, then that would have been lost. So f4 is needed to block that. But at the same time, even after knight takes f4, for example, you have 3 pawns for that minor piece, which is ample compensation in a situation where white's king is quite lonely. Yeah, it's quite lonely. It doesn't have any pawns in front of it. It no longer has that castle. Now it looks a little bit more like a barn. Yeah, it's not even a barn at this point. It's a field. There's just nothing in front of it. So, yeah, it's just painful position, I would say, for Alexandra to play. But this is quite, reminiscent of Harika and Alexandra's playing styles. They're both quite aggressive players. So.
Oh yeah, f4 is a question if f4 is necessary. F4 is even mandatory there to block this bishop, and if black here cannot find a way to win, you might need to trade some pieces.
Yeah, anytime you get attacked, guys, you just want to trade off pieces. Really important too. I mean, the logic behind that is quite simple, right? If what's the most what can checkmate you? Well, your opponent's pieces. So if they don't have pieces, then you can't get checkmated. That's
one piece cannot checkmate. The opponent needs at least 2, so you have to trade.
Right. So if they just don't have pieces, you can't get checkmated. Yeah. That's the logic over here. But this is not. Wait. Okay. Now with the king on e2, I'm not sure. I'm not actually sure. I mean, what do you want to play in this position?
Yeah, I'm not happy with these checks, to be honest, because if you lead the king on the queen side, the king is safer.
Yeah, so I actually think, yes, I was just going to draw this arrow over here where it's like the king can actually run. So I think the better move, instead of knight takes f4, was to play maybe bishop takes. Even bishop takes is not that good because then there will be knight and then your king can still run. So maybe it's just not to take and play queen to g2 or something.
Queen g2 or something. Yeah, I don't really like these checks. It's just
yeah. You people get baited into these checks, right? And they think that the checks are, you know, good, but you actually realize by checking your opponent, it lets them to move their king to where they want to move it, which is the other side of the board.
Oh, g7 is a checkmate that black has to.
Yeah, g7 is also a checkmate that black has to worry about now.
Yeah.
Oof. I mean, this is not going in Harika's favor anymore. I would say, once again, just going back to that position, because if I don't find what was winning for black, I'm going to be extremely uncomfortable. I think queen to g2 is also not that good because of this. So
I think I said so many times this, but queen g3 was a mistake over there. Queen g3, queen h3.
Right. I mean, queen g3 is also a mistake because you let your
maybe here too, just to get this pawn on f4, or knight h4 is also an option. Knight h4, you want to checkmate on g2, so
and
she
potentially
cannot take it yet.
f3 as well.
Yes.
This would make a lot of sense. Yeah, I agree.
The thing is that because of the lack of time on the clock, you cannot really think of all the ideas and all the candidate moves.
Right.
And you see checks and you're just following them.
Exactly. I mean, this is the Evo bar is doing a bit of a roller coaster here, but it looks like black has come out on top. I mean, it's hard to say that, you know, black is winning in this position because you have 4 pawns for the minor piece, but
yeah,
white has 12 seconds. So 12 seconds is not a lot of time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, they're probably going to go for the draw. Very difficult to play anything for a win here. I just king goes okay or not. I was gonna suggest king goes back just to stop queen to a1, but I assume you do have this threat of queen takes f7. It's really looking like the queen trade,
because you have to do it because there's a checkmate on h7.
Yeah, trading off those queens just means that there's no more pressure coming from Harika, right? Because once again, queen's your most powerful piece. If you're trying to checkmate your opponent, you're probably using your queen. No queen equals no checkmate.
Yeah, here white just activated the king, and now the king and rook can easily stop the pawns on the king's side. And I would be really worried to play against this bishop.
Yeah, I mean, it's theoretically a little bit better for black. 3 pawns versus a bishop is typically a draw. And I know this from personal experience as of last week, actually. It was supposed to be a draw, but I do think it actually favors black a little bit because it becomes really complicated to play, especially under time trouble. Yeah. So Alexandra has to play this incredibly well and hope for Harika to actually make a mistake, because you can just, push your pawn. You just push your pawns up, and what can, white really do about it?
She was waiting for this bishop g4, and then she's
right, but this is winning for Harika because the king is cut off from here, right? And we're gonna get that. Well, it's not
even if pawns are off the board, it's still lost.
Exactly, this pawn is just too fast, and there's no way for you to do it. So,
yeah.
Fortunately, oh no, white, no. She didn't put the rook in. Okay, so another really important thing about rook endgame.
Look at Alexandra's eyes.
You can't let this pawn move up. Like, that's the whole point. Like, if you have a passed pawn, what do you want to do with the passed pawn? You want to push it up. So what do you want to do as a side that like has to stop the passed pawn? Not let it push up. Oh no. Wait. Oh god. Okay. That was incredibly painful for Harika. That was incredibly painful.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Alexandra is just like, can't believe that happened. Her face is just like, whoa.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What really happened? I didn't really
okay, so wait, let's go back really, really quickly and just explain to everybody this concept of rook endgames, right? It's just you can't let your opponent's pawn get past the fourth, really. If you're the one with the rook, you just can't let this pawn go up. I mean, it's so easy here to play rook
she
to.
should play rook.
Yeah, it's so easy here to play.
King
Yeah, it's just here to play rook to a7.
And she has to come back with the king now on b3.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
king e2, king d3 is on time.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
no.
So it's really just that. But
Wow.
I mean, logically speaking, right? It's well,
That's
it's a bit of a
unfortunate.
coin flip as to whether or not your king move was winning, but you can be sure if the pawn can't move up the board, then you're definitely not promoting that pawn. So, all right.
Yeah.
Well, Harika is the score. The current score is 4-2. Harika has missed 2 winning chances already in
That's
the
true.
event, so a little bit more painful for her. However, she has had some really good positions so far, so we might still see some really exciting.
Yeah, she's getting good positions, and then
yeah,
in the
absolutely.
time trouble.
Yeah. Really painful, I would say. I mean, Alexandra is getting really lucky today, but I also like to say there's no such thing as luck in chess. It's just more.
Oh, you don't believe in that luck exists in chess?
I actually don't believe in luck. I think I'm a very cynical person. I'm extremely cynical. It's never luck. It's all the little things in fate that led it to this moment. So in Harika's case, it's just the tiny bit of tactics that she's missing, and just the processing time, right? Because it's blitz and not something that she's particularly used to. Whereas Alexandra is probably a lot more familiar with playing online
chess. Online chess is a totally different thing. It's just you need to know how these little tricks, and not so little in the end. And what's also very important, you should not give up until the end of the game. That's very important here. And sometimes this for sure now, because you play a lot of over the board chess tournaments. But for example, when you have when you're rook down, you don't play that. You just resign. You don't feel comfortable to play, or when you're pissed down. But online chess,
absolutely,
you have nothing to lose.
You just keep fighting, right? Because I mean, there's so many times that I should have been completely lost, and you just throw something.
You have nothing to lose because you already know that you lost it, and that's it. You're just having fun.
Exactly. I mean, in online chess, you fight until the last second because. Even if you're down a rook, your opponent might accidentally just forget. Not even I'm 100% sure Harika would have converted that, no problem. She just had 20 more seconds on her clock. But it's just in
100 times from 100 tries.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's just so you're so certain, but when you're on such low time, you just it doesn't really even out the playing field. That's not what I'm gonna say. But what I do want to say is that it makes mistakes a lot more obvious, because if you make a mistake, then it becomes a lot easier to just sort of catch.
Yeah.
But I do like Alexandra's position here. This is looking quite wait, how is it? It's in English. So the English is commonly, there's a lot of reverse dragon, because the English opening is a Sicilian, right? But white plays it. So this is actually very, very very similar to a hedgehog.
Oh, hedgehog, yeah. Or dragon.
Right. Or dragon, except you didn't manage to push d5 up, so your position is bad. But this is a bit like the Marazzi. So you got your entire idea as black is to stop your opponent from white from playing d4. And Harika has a slightly more passive position, trying to play that h4 alpha 0 style move, getting a little bit of space. So.
When you want to play just some move for the, you don't know what to play and you just have to prophylactic move, but you say okay, let's make it look even better and push h4.
h4.
Yeah, I love this knight on b3. This knight is a monster. No, it's not. It's a half monster.
It's a half monster. I mean, there's. Well, you see that's a really good point. It's going back because it's not doing that much. I mean, it's controlling white from being able to play rook to d2. But even if you go rook d2, you can always move your knight back. So nothing is really impacted by that knight being on b3.
Yeah. Oh, she wants to play bishop b3 just to
win
this.
Right. That's true as well. Yeah. So now the rooks have swapped positions. Just drop the rook back, bishop e3, and then rook to d2. I mean, black definitely has the upper hand here. There's not a lot of things that white.
You know what I think? Like, if black managed to double the rooks on d file, maybe at some point even push c4.
Yes, absolutely. Drop the queen back, right? So you got the Alahein's gun here, except you need to flip it, because having a queen in the front is not very useful, because you can't really use a queen to, you know, capture things at the risk of losing it. So you really want to swap around.
Ooh, beautiful. Okay. I like this move, f4.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's cool. This is a really good move. Engine doesn't like it, but you know
why? Because it allows white's bishop e4 move. Yeah. Bishop e4 is super active. Also, d3 pawn is not anymore hanging. And then you have some ideas with queen h5 and this kind of moves.
Absolutely. The only thing is, you know, when you get attacked, your first instinct is not to counterattack. Your first instinct is to defend. And that's exactly what Harika did. Played king g2, tried to just secure that g3 pawn, didn't take the opportunity to activate the bishop and potentially bring the queen out. So as long as black is able to take full advantage of this slight indecision that Harika had, then yeah. All right, got bishop d5, rook to f1. Alexandra's trying to make something happen in this position. Well, I'm not entirely sure what she's able to do. I would say, like, this is one of those kind of positions where it's just you're trying to make something happen, but if everything gets exchanged, then it's going to be another equal-ish endgame. So you do have to be a little bit careful as white, but there's nothing too much to worry about just because there's not a lot of material on the board.
Yeah.
And bring things over to attack this bishop's going to be a little harder.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe here black wants to... No. Quiet, Sketty.
Yeah.
Be quiet.
Not a lot of things black is able to do. Kind of got to do something with the bishop.
Yeah. I wanted to use the bishop. Yes. Not good.
This knight might look good on e4, but a rook to f1 is also very easy. So,
yeah.
I'm actually going to argue with Twitch chat and say the forehead camera of the players is the absolute best feature ever. I think it's the most chess thing to ever happen, you know? Like, it is the definition of peak chess. So I like the forehead cover a lot. You know their focus when they got the forehead there. And that's all you can see. It's a big yeah.
We have seen it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But okay, like when you play chess, okay, very important.
Like, okay, I'm gonna be 100% honest and say to Twitch chat, I like when I'm focusing, I'm never just like sitting back on my seat, you know? Like I'm not actually like this. When I play chess, I'm like literally like this. And I already have like one of like a streaming camera, right? But even then, I'm like always like sitting like this. Like you don't just sit back like on a sofa. You're like, you know, you got your whole body posture going on too. So we need the 5-head camera next, exactly.
Yeah, at some point, like you actually forget that you are visible.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Watching, it slips your mind completely. I mean, it's not her focus, right? Like her focus is trying to win these games, so it's totally understandable. And that posture is actually something that's really important. I mean, okay, something happened in this endgame. Wait a second. It was a draw all the way until the pawn started rolling. And this is why I don't really approve of okay, here it starts getting a little bit difficult because once the pawn gets rolling, you have to be really careful about it. It's still technically a draw, but I would definitely prefer white's position here just because this pawn is, you know, already on the 6th, and this knight is a little bit out of the game currently.
Yeah,
but of course you have to be careful.
White Knight makes. Sorry.
I just the C3 move is something we were worried about. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this knight and rook can create a lot of dramas on the board. The knight and the rook, I think it's a very strong couple in the end game.
Well, unfortunately, Harika decided she doesn't want that knight. But Kenny does have a very, very good point. I think it's
because of Arabic checkmate is happening so many times.
Yes,
and you cannot even avoid that if your opponent sees the way. To do it, you can't even avoid that.
I really like king to e4. I mentioned this earlier about how activating your pieces in endgame is really like any time in the game you want to activate your piece. I think this king e4 would have been a lot better because my fear was c3, right?
Yeah.
But with your king here now, you can suddenly play king to d3. And I think that's something that Harika wasn't able to find with 10 seconds on the clock. So she played a very logical move, which is just swap off your opponent's knight. If you're a little bit scared of that pawn promoting, trade it off. Trade off the knight that protects the promotion square, but king to e4 could have very likely brought Harika to a much better endgame. And this is going to be a draw. You got the rook's pawn here, and obviously the suit pawn here.
Yeah, I love the way how Kosteniuk is playing. Like instead of going to the king side and take this h pawn, she still tries some chances. That's really good. That's really good for a chess player.
Absolutely. And there is going to be a draw here, and the
another draw.
Yes, a lot of draws today. That's needless to say, it's a very exciting, extremely exciting game so far. Very, very fun stuff. So,
and their actual also classical chess is pretty much full with draws.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And people say draws are boring, but you're not considering the fact that if they're about the same strength, then a lot of the time it's a draw. Yeah, a lot of the time it is a draw.
Okay, draw is boring when you agree on the move 10.
It's boring when it's the Grunfeld line that got repeated twice, or it's the Berlin line that got repeated twice in the same tournament. But I mean, Harika and Alexandra are obviously just really hard fighters. They want to play chess. They like aggressive chess. So these are well fought and interesting.
Yeah, I'm just checking right now, and so far we have 5 draws, but all those draws were played.
Yeah,
not agreed.
This will be the last game in the 5+1 portion. The timer has been run down to 0, but because they started the game about 20 seconds before the timer, so we're still gonna see this. We're still gonna see this game, and we've actually seen this opening before. We saw it a couple of rounds back where I was talking about how White ended up taking on c6, and there's the double pawns, and then both sides got this. I think this time though, Alexandra's decided she doesn't want to take on c6, and instead is just going to play on this g file.
Yeah, because we thought that there was no chances with a bishop for Harika, but she found a way to draw, to make a draw. So she is now changing this time.
I'm not sure what Harika's doing here. I mean, there's a6 as a possibility, I think, which is what happened in the previous game. But a lot of time being spent here. Let me see if I'm up to date.
Oh, is this the last game?
This is the last game for the 5+1 portion.
Ooh, okay, that's cool.
Indeed. Yeah.
That's cool. So next will be 3+1.
Yeah, next up will be 3+1. I really am not a fan of this move. I'm sorry.
E5?
Yeah, e5 is not striking me as a move that inspires a substantial amount of confidence. I do believe that there was nothing wrong in this position with
taking on e5.
Yeah, I was gonna say taking on e5, but even then there's queen takes, I guess. Maybe bishop takes. Because then you would have gone on a really nice pass pawn, but in blitz game,
yeah, I think there was bishop g5 there, some terrible pin.
Yeah. Well, black has to be a little bit more passive now. Once again, white just has this half open file. Already has the ally Heinz gun kind of on it. And, this e5 pawn is something that's going to definitely drop in the future. Maybe not on this move.
Oh, what was that? What was that? Knight f4, I guess.
Knight f4, this unfortunately checkmate and won.
Oh,
yeah. But I'm thinking maybe queen takes d1. No, queen takes d1. No, queen takes d1 is not going to work because you get a rook and a bishop and you don't get compensation. But what is winning here then? Now I have to calculate this.
That's interesting. Something.
See, we're analyzing without engines, which makes it a lot more difficult.
Queen h4. Queen h4.
And then the bishop has to move. And then, and
the other bishop is hanging.
The other bishop is hanging. What a move. What a move, yeah. What a move. So.
Okay, you cannot say this. You cannot
I
cannot say this.
If you're playing with the clock, you just don't have time. So you need a little bit more time to calculate that.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that, when you're playing Blitz, you're not immediately looking for. You just want to get your queen out of the way as soon as possible.
Yeah, to be honest, I started to look that move when I saw the bar was dropping. But the first reaction...
the first reaction is definitely just to move.
Yeah.
And for everybody who's saying, why not rook takes e4? Well...
Rook takes e4.
You got a Boches gambit over here. Don't want to lose your queen. So, can't play that. The only winning move there is queen to h4. And, this is still a very uncomfortable position for black to play just because, your pieces look like they're all hanging, right? Like, everything looks like it's potentially going to drop material. You got a discover attack coming out along over here. You got another discover attack potentially on this diagonal. Black seems to be holding on by a pretty...
Yeah, I like even the ideas to push h4, h5 because as I learned g7 pawn might be in trouble. Not right now, of course, this bishop is hanging on f4 and pawn is itself hanging. But for example, like rook, bishop g3 and then h4 might be something.
Some really solid stuff.
Although e5 pawn is hanging.
Something that's also interesting to consider. c7 pawn's also hanging.
Yeah,
everything's hanging.
I just wanted to mention that white could still go h4 because if you take on e5, then knight e7 wins the queen in that position.
Right. So if you want to play h4, and black just decides to take, well,
take and knight e7.
Right, but this is actually interesting because maybe there's rook takes f1 too.
And then
you take this, and then you take here, and then king here, and this bishop takes, and then you actually end up getting compensation.
Yeah,
so a lot of interesting stuff happening here.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's good that we can make this moves on the board. We can't.
Yeah, when you're playing the game, right? They have to play absolutely sure. Like they have to make sure that what they're playing is entirely correct and solid. They can't just be like us, where we're like, this looks like it's going to be a good.
Let's say it. Oh, it's a checkmate. Oops, let's take it back.
Yeah, exactly. So they cannot do that. Yes.
Some weeks ago, there was hybrid championship in many continents, and I was doing European one currently. And the main question there was if a player can analyze the game on the board.
I think that when I return to classical over the board chess, I'm gonna be so unfamiliar with arrows. It's like you're so used to just drawing arrows, and then over the board chess, you're like, I gotta bring my own arrows to stick onto the board.
There are gonna be a lot of pre-moves.
Yeah, it'll be quite funny, but white's position is still slightly better. Got the pressure up, got the pair of bishops. Quite comfortable, got that pass pawn on e5. Lots of space. Not that you really need it because it's an open position.
Yeah,
so.
It's not my game. I would play here knight f6 move. It looks really strange.
Yeah, I like the knight f6 idea.
Yeah, just to get. It's probably not working.
I was gonna say it's probably not working.
Not working.
Yeah, the bishop unfortunately doesn't really have a lot to do on e5. You'll take, and you just don't have enough material anymore. but it's one of those bullet moves for sure. All right, well, I'm gonna say that the rook tray will favor black a little bit more. Just less pressure on the board. So Alexandra's not too hyped about that exchange. All right, maybe something like this will happen coming up.
Yeah, I like bishop d3 a lot.
Yes, bishop d3 definitely.
Oh, now bishop f5 is coming.
You know, it might be surprising, but knight queen is actually a pretty good combo in the endgame, just because the knight moves totally different from a queen. Yeah.
What do you think about knight and the bishop endgame now? But she just didn't.
I think if it's a knight versus bishop endgame, it's going to be a draw, because this knights are very good at blockading. So I think regardless of whether or not the queens come off the board, I would actually say I prefer Alexandra's chances with the queen on the board, just because it's more complicated, but there's also 19 seconds left for her, right? So maybe going for the draw is the best option here. She's already up 2 points. And I think the shorter time control will favor her even a little bit more. So it's looking like they're going to go towards a draw here. And she already has the material lead, so there's not too much point. Yeah, so Harika obviously recognizes that Alexandra only has 16 seconds.
She has 1 minute more than...
yeah, she has 1 minute more, right? So when you have 1 minute more, you definitely want to be playing for a win, because your opponent might blunder anytime. Now, that's not to say you might not blunder either, but queen to d5 here and capturing the pass pawn, I would say, is very logical. Yep. Okay, so here... Oof. I mean, Alexandra's playing really well under the time pressure.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, she's a fighter. I have seen her fighting like a last person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Losing position, but she's fighting, and many times you're getting the points out of it.
Absolutely. I don't think giving white another pass pawn is a very good idea, but there's only so much black can do here. You can play b3.
Yeah.
It's incredible, because the queen protects the f2 pawn and the bishop protects this diagonal. The queen ending here is definitely lost, because white just has that pass pawn.
Yes, and white also has enough pawns to cover the king. So
not the queen trade. Oh no. So the reason I'm saying oh no is because the black king is now committed to coming here to capture this pawn, right? Which gives white all the time in the world to capture everything else. I mean, you might, what we're going to see here is black trying to keep everything together by not going for this pawn, but then black is only playing with the king versus king bishop, because this knight is doing its own thing on h7. But finding the win here might be a little bit more difficult regardless.
Yeah, I think white should get the bishop pawn on.
Okay, this is draw.
This is draw, because
this is a draw.
If you get the h pawn, if you sacrifice the knight for h pawn, then it's wrong corner. That's how we call it. I don't know how you guys call it. It's wrong color. Yeah. So now black has to sacrifice the knight for the pawn.
I would actually say maybe that's winning. I'd run it through a table base later, actually. But
even h7. No.
Oh, it's gonna promote.
No.
Oh no.
Oh my god. It was a horrible blunder.
Very big mistake. Yeah, that was a very big mistake from Marika. I mean, Alexandra is just completely, she's a fighter. She is very much a fighter. She has played very well played game, honestly, by both sides. It was very intense all the way down.
Yeah. Harika needs to, put herself together and be a little bit more practical, because that's what she is really missing. She's playing perfectly well, but she needs to be more practical. So I think our viewers, our chat on YouTube and Twitch needs to give some support to Harika.
Yeah, Harika just needs a little bit of something more to boost herself, and she's putting up really good fights, but unfortunately just not quite enough at the moment. But we are going to go into the 3+1 very soon, right after the break. And it's a reminder to everybody, stay tuned. This is the round of 16 for the Women's Speed Chess Championship, the match between Alexandra Kosteniuk, former world champion, and Harika Dronavalli, both very strong grandmasters. So we'll see you guys in about 3 minutes. All right, and we will be back momentarily with the 3+1 portion of today's match. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about the awesomeness of chess.com having the exclusive video coverage rights to the 2021 World Championships. And these are, the games between Jan Nepomniachtchi versus the one and only Magnus Carlsen. So do stay tuned for the World Championship that's going to be coming up in November.
Oh, that's going to be cool event.
Absolutely.
Very cool event. Fighting two friends.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, Nepo does things like just play 11 pawn moves in a row because he feels like it. So, we're going to see a lot of really exciting stuff happening. I'm very excited.
True.
But yeah, the 3+1 portion is going to be starting really soon. We're just waiting for the players to come back, and we'll get things underway. So, what are your predictions for the 3+1 portion of this match?
I think it's gonna be now even more challenge for Harika because she has less time on the clock. But somehow it also makes me think that she already knows how it's gonna go, and she'll be faster, and she will be once again more practical. She just needs to be more practical.
Yeah, I mean, being more practical is easier said than done sometimes in these very short time formats. You're always at a little bit of a debate with your inner self about how to play these positions. So we do see like these very chill openings coming from Harika. She just wants to get into the middle game without too much of a hassle, no deep preparation, just, good, normal chess kind of situation.
Yeah, B3 is something that she doesn't play often, but there is some games in her in the database. But what do you think about this? She started with F4. Then she switched to a knight F3, and now she's starting with B3.
Yeah, I mean, I think she just decided to try every opening out there. I think she decided that today is a very good day to just try every single opening, which I can't fault her with, right? It is a...
But hold on, she has more. She has more. She plays also G4. G3, sorry. No, G3, sorry.
G3, yeah, G3. Yeah. Okay, so
we might see that too.
Well, we might see, the full variety of openings, but I think the point is always with all these kind of openings is to avoid really mainline theory, right? Because you can play mainline theory and then get totally caught out. And that's something you don't really want to happen, especially in a Blitz event, because then you have to like think really about all the lines and stuff, and then you just don't have the time for that. Yeah. So I really like Harika's strategy of just playing things. I mean, this is just one of those positions where there's really not much to say. It's going to be that position that I didn't really like for white earlier, where it looks like it looks a little bit like a Marazzi or a hedgehog, but reverse colors. So I definitely think black is doing absolutely fine in this position. Hardly any pressure coming from white. That's the downside of playing, moves that are not topical or not super theoretical. You just get these positions where black's doing fine.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, what do you think about this topic, chess families and chess couples? Because here we know that Alexander Kosteniuk has a grandmaster husband.
Oh,
probably they're training a lot at home. That's, I think, is a benefit for Alexandra. During the pandemic time, you don't play chess tournaments, so you need a partner to play every day. And to be in the shape.
Honestly, I can't even imagine being with somebody, so it's fine. It's okay. I'm happy being alone. It's all right. Just like Chow, we're all in this together.
But you can play chess every day. Bullet games.
Yeah, I do play chess all the time online. I guess it would definitely be nice to have somebody to play chess with. But like, it just seems so improbable. It's not even something I've thought about. Alexandra looking very shocked that she allowed d4 to happen, and I agree with her. She did a little bit of a head shake over there. Oof, just over here, like, oh my god. Okay, so the whole point of having pawns on c5. Oh, I'm sorry, Toronto just decided somebody's gonna steal a car, but you do play d4 in order to break through, right? Now all of a sudden your bishop is looking very good.
And it was only option for like Alexandra to take d4 pawn, because otherwise d5 d6 was coming with very bad outcome for black.
Exactly. So you definitely don't want this pawn pushing up. Have to take, and all of a sudden it just looks like white's got a great position. I mean, the queen has to move basically, or you can also accept the knight takes d4, and you got everything from rook takes d4 to bishop takes d4. Both look very good here, because you also have to remember that this queen has to stay close to the bishop. So quite a painful position for Alexandra to play. She has decided to take, then after bishop takes d4.
Oh, queen e5. Was not there a move instead of rook e1?
Here?
Yeah. Bishop. Or bishop g7 even.
Yeah, I mean, this looks
so much realistic. Let's be.
Yeah, this looks very good. Yeah, this looks like it's just winning a piece. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I am gonna say, I think everything here is pretty much winning. It's just, you might be like, oh, why did you get the bishop? Well, you got this discover check, and all of a sudden,
winning the queen.
Loss.
That's a perfect comeback from Harika. That's what she really needs to win. Win 1 or 2 games to feel self-confident.
Exactly. And this is what I was saying a little bit earlier, right? About the whole you can't let white play d4 thing. Like, you have the pawn on c5, e5 to stop d4. But it can also come at the cost of, if your opponent's able to play it, then all of a sudden your whole position goes downhill because it just opens up the center that white was preparing for. So, I mean, it's very difficult to imagine Harika losing in this position. Yeah, very difficult.
We have a comment in the chat that says relations are temporary and chess is forever. Cannot agree more.
This is very true. I have actually dated a League of Legends player, and yeah, that's what I kind of realized after the relationship, that, you know, relationships are very much temporary. Your skills in League of Legends are kind of forever. So same applies to chess. I would say unfortunately, but I think it's better that, you know, we went our respective ways. People who are very into games, I think, are very... They play the game for a reason, yeah? They prioritize the game a little bit more than you, so I'm just going to say it kind of is what it is. And obviously Harika is just going to wrap this game up. Very painful game for Alexandra to play. So...
Well, here we have, what's the result? 5.5 to 2.5. And we just started 3+1 section.
I mean, we mentioned previously that actually Alexandra probably has a better chance in 3+1 than Harika does. Yeah. Just because she is more familiar with, you know, online chess.
Yeah,
but
that's
Harika
a huge
seems,
benefit.
Yeah, but Harika seems to have come in and just be like really fighting. She's fighting. I like it.
But how about also just to be friendly to the mouse? For me, my mouse is the biggest threat when I play chess.
Right.
Like, we're not friends at all. And when you're streaming and playing daily chess games, you are, you know, you're comfortable with everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So... I mean, Harika has, once again, very comfortable position. It looks like white doesn't have a lot of space, right? There's no e-pawn up on d4, so that's probably going to be one of black's bigger strengths in this position.
Yeah. Now what black wanted is knight b6 to target c4 pawn and also the queen, and to, you know, get the pair of bishop advantage. Why not? And now after b3, the queen cannot come back, so bishop f8 just, you know, cuts the queen from b4 and a3 squares as well. Yeah, so the queen not being able to go to a3 or b4 is going to provide a little bit of pressure on Alexandra to keep the queen for the second time already.
Yeah, for the second one. Yeah, you want to be Alexandra Kosteniuk and not Botez. Nothing against Alex Botez, of course, but no Botez gambits would be good today. Okay, well, h6 provides a pretty simple idea, just not letting knight to g5. You want to keep your pair bishops, right? Really important. Pair bishops are good when it's an open position, and I would say this position is half open, not quite fully open, but you still rather not get your bishop taken off. So h6, very logical, just prophylactic thinking. Pretty hard as white to make a move here. Like I was saying, if you don't really have that center pawn with the pawn on, you know, e4, not so much that it makes it, you know, it makes it a little bit more difficult to play your position just because you have less space, right? Like that's the whole point of controlling the center. You get space, you get pieces, you get squares to go to. Right now, it's just feeling a little bit more awkward with how your pieces are positioned. I'm not a huge fan of bishop to d5 actually.
Really? I thought it was like a natural move. Because I
probably
was so
a natural
scared
move,
knight
yeah.
of knight d6.
Yeah. I guess at the same time, I think it does just let white kind of do what she wants to do, but it does make sense, of course, the prophylactic thinking aspect. Okay. Fair bishop's gone. They're now in white's favor, but this knight might come to d5 soon.
Yeah. Bishop d2 now might be played to avoid also knight c3 is a threat here. Oh no, queen comes back.
Yeah. Well, you also don't want the double pawns. So
yeah, so we have the opposite colored bishop here, and which bishop is better?
Honestly, I would actually argue I like the dark squared bishop because the way I see this position coming out, right, is that the B pawn will eventually become a little bit weak because both the C pawn and B pawn are on dark squares. And we mentioned this a couple of games ago, where in the end game, you don't actually want your pawns in the same color of your opponent's bishop. But at the same time, you can also say that this bishop is on this diagonal, you might potentially get B5. So I would say it's a hard judgment to make. Both bishops have the potential to become absolute monsters in the end game. And you definitely want to take with the A pawn, not the queen, because once again, right, you don't want the weak C pawn. You want your pawns to be holding hands.
Yeah.
Pawn islands. Yeah.
Holding hands.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
So
white is fine, I think, to draw this game as well.
I agree.
Because still there is a huge advantage in with the points, and if all the games end in a draw, that's just as perfect for Alexandra, because there is 3 points between them.
Yeah, there is Harika currently has 3.5, and I believe Harika currently has 3.5, and Alexandra has 5.5, which means that
it's reduced to okay.
Yeah, there's just a 2-point difference between them. So if Alexandra is just able to keep up that 2-point lead, then she will win the match and move on to the quarterfinals. So
yeah, I like this idea. Okay, so she wants to set up the battery with queen b3 and try to get on g8 f7 and force opponent's queen to go in passive defense with queen g7.
Absolutely. And endgames, once again, just like any other stage of the game, you just want to be really active, right? You just you have to be active in chess. You can't play chess passively. You can't just defend. You won't win games that way. So I really like the way Alexandra plays. I mean, Harika is also a very aggressive player. They're both kind of like this. So I really admire the way that in an end game they're not just playing around doing nothing. They're just they're actually going for plans, and they're deciding what they want to do, and they are really thinking about how to try to checkmate their opponent despite it being an end game.
Exactly. Okay, Harika has to take care of now of the king and all these pawns, because definitely white is the one who is trying here to win. Because somehow light square bishop has more potential to. Oh, why is that? No, it's not. Black also has a potential to come on.
Right. So I think what Ketty was talking about is, well, let's just go back very briefly to that position. Just worrying a little bit about
Thanks
all
for
this.
saving me.
Yeah, no worries. It's just like this is just a draw, right? You just trade everything off and it just becomes a draw. But yeah, that's how opposite color bishop endings typically go. You just can't protect your own pawns, so you have to capture your opponent's pawns. And that's really important because you have to be active in chess. Just because your opponent can capture your stuff doesn't mean like you can't capture their stuff, right? Like you just trade the pawns and it goes into you just get into a draw. So
yeah, this is what white does here is very comfortable setup. You just know where to develop the pieces. Bishop e2, castle, queen c2. You get rook on d1, and then you're looking maybe d4 sometimes, or maybe not. And for black, if you're not ready for this setup, if you don't remember exactly how you are playing against this setup, then it can be quite tough. Like it happened in the previous, the first game of 3+1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are just positions that give a little bit of play, like dynamics is what I was talking about a little bit earlier, right? It's not a static position. I'm calling it a dynamic position because the pawn structure is not symmetrical. You get different. I think the most, like why it's commonly said actually that pawns are the soul of chess is because the way that pawns are set up dictates a lot of the kind of play that's going on. Now, obviously, this isn't so much even applied to me, but if pawn structures are symmetrical, oftentimes
I have a question to you now, because where do you get all this education? Because you sound like just like I've heard from my coaches, which are very far away from you. So how you got all these things?
I mean, I had very classical chess education growing up. I was kind of like educated in the Chinese school of like chess thought. So yeah, and that's kind of like where all my basis for chess comes from when I was really young. So all these things were like, drilled into me. We're both of that older generation of chess players, right? Not so, like we're both like the classical. Not so much these days. These days, chess is very different. I'm gonna be honest and say.
I feel very comfortable today because what you're saying, that's actually what I've heard from my coaches forever. But
yeah, I'm sure you must have had a lot of Russian style coaching and all that. Like it's very similar to the Russian. It's the old school of chess thought, which.
And sometimes I really feel like it's now, old, modern, not modern, and maybe I'm old or something.
These days it's very different. It's very different. The way that people pick up chess these days, they sometimes miss the point a little bit about why to play moves. And I can't really fault them, right? Because it is just a new generation, a new style of playing chess. AlphaZero engines have really impacted that. I mean, this is like an entire podcast kind of thing. But chess at its soul is sort of, these are the reasons. These are the core reasons.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Old school chess education.
Good. I feel good actually. Sometimes I have a feeling when I'm saying something like I know something very basic, I have a feeling that it's only me who speaks like a grandma speaking, and I don't like it.
Absolutely. I mean, this game is just so aggressive. I love the way Alexandra's playing. It's just F5, G5. Alexandra and Harika are both very aggressive. We got the opposite side costling, and opposite side costling just means they're going to start attacking, right? So,
and look at this, how Alexandra set up here the position. If you castle on the short side, there's F and G pawns, and if you go on the long side, she played this A5 on move 3, I guess.
I mean, all the way back, right? And this is what I was saying, like a little bit before, that it's a little bit, the pawn just came out on move 5. This is the newer school of chess thought, right? Just grabbing that space, going for the attack. But I kind of like it as well because it just means chess is very exciting. Yes. Exactly. It's the pieces are coming out. Unfortunately, this open file wasn't able to provide a lot of attack for Alexandra. So it's really smart of Harika to not cost onto the side that has G5 and F5 but rather this side. Okay, well, there's always the rook takes A4. Always rook takes A4.
Oh, Nemo, I just got a pawn on chess.com Twitch. What does that mean? What does that mean?
That's good. That means you're a sub. That's what it means.
Cool. Thanks.
Yes.
Somebody sub.
Thank you to Face Chess. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm a little yellow pawn.
Yes. I love Kenny's enthusiasm. That's so awesome. This is a moment when Chess World meets Twitch World. Absolutely. Yeah. That's cute.
Okay. What do we have over here? Like
this game is so slow, and they have seconds on the clock, and they're just playing like a...
Yeah, it's a 3+1, right? It's easy to forget it's 3+1 when you come from 5+1. There's a little bit of a... It reminds me a bit of the Benoni pawn structure. Somehow the king made it all the way over here. But black has an easy idea. Make sure that, this pawn isn't able to... These pawns aren't able to push. That's really all. And we can get the extra close-up forehead cam as both players are entering a little bit of time trouble. Now it's the quarter forehead camera.
Yeah. Look at Alexandra. How focused this.
Yeah, she's just super focused. She's she's like peering at the board very intently.
I played against her one game.
Oh.
And yeah, and it was really interesting. It was really scared. Because we played at European Championship. And she was already world champion and grandmaster and so on and so on. I was little girl there. And she had 2 pawns extra.
Oh,
but
wait
somehow
a minute. That was not captured. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The rook was hanging on b1, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, the rook was hanging on b1. Oh no!
Oh my god. Did you see the comeback of Harika also on this screen? Like, oh, I'm back.
Oh no, that was I mean, Alexandra does share the first name of one of our favorite content creators, so it was a bit of an Botez moment over there.
What is the score right now?
It's currently 5 for Harika and 6 for Alexandra, according to the updated.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow. Alexandra's still thinking about the previous game, this blunder. You can see on her face, she's very disappointed. And also, there's not a big secret, like when you play chess and you have such a blunder, you'll keep thinking about that.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a very shocking blunder. She went from having the opportunity to win the exchange, which she didn't take.
But did you see Harika's movement? Like how she came back with the, full face on the camera.
Yeah.
That was a big one. I liked it.
Kosteniuk does not look particularly happy, I would agree. I don't think anybody would be happy after that one. Quite a lot is on the line. And it is a 3+1, so it's really important to remember that time is a very big thing as we're going near the end, because that +1 second is not quite enough to really, make your time go up, right? It's just 1 second. It's enough to ensure you don't really flag, but quite difficult. So
I think it's now time to support a little bit Alexandra, send some virtual vibes to her to, pull herself together and go ahead. We have perfect comeback from Harika, and now Alexandra has to score something, because hold on, it's like 2.5 to half, right? In 3+1 section.
In 3+1, yes, it is 2.5 to wait, is that correct? I believe so.
Somebody?
Yeah. But regardless, Alexandra has not been performing extraordinarily well. Definitely not as well as the 5+1 portion, which is a little bit more unpredictable, which was a little bit not predicted, because we assumed that, she played a little bit more blitz and all that. But regardless, very interesting, very entertaining games. Even though this one is looking like a little bit dry, you have to remember it's 3+1, which means pieces are going to fly.
It always starts with a dry position, and then they are making some fireworks on the board when the time is ticking.
Right, exactly. White has a very easy plan, however. This is the pawn structure that I hate getting as black, because this pawn is just such a weakness, right? You're forever trying to push this pawn up, but if you just can't push it up, then you're struggling a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So. Sure. This is one of those positions where it's just like, okay, well, time to expand a little bit.
I like what black is doing right now. G5, I love this move.
because I think she wants to play knight g6, bishop e5, control all these dark squares, and maybe at some point even push this g4 pawn farther.
I really like the fact that Alexandra just, you know, even though there is a bishop on this diagonal, just decided she doesn't care. Yeah. Alexandra just decided she doesn't care and just moves the knight away and just moves the rook.
Yeah.
Cool. This bishop is strong, but it can be traded off pretty much anytime.
Yeah. How about knight d4, knight f5 idea to get this knight on f5, and from that square can attack on d6, also, you know, control the king side. But no, she says no.
I think that would have been really interesting actually, but I think you also don't want to play knight d4 because there would be bishop takes, and then Harika herself would be able to get knight to f4. So that's maybe one of the ideas why Alexandra decided to not play knight to d4.
Yeah.
Yeah, got the rook on e8, just pressuring the e4 pawn.
Yeah. I'm not sure about f3 move because, oh my god, those dark squares are so weak. Yeah, f5, f5.
Yeah,
exactly.
And also f5 is, if you play f3, then your queen becomes unprotected on e3, which means you can play f5, and you might be like, oh, but the king is super weak. Well, you can't really attack the king. Then it's not really weak, right? Like you might not really have that many pieces.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's only weak if you can attack it.
Yeah, in this case, I think white king might be even weaker than the black king, because there is not even single piece attacking that king.
Yes, absolutely. C5, a little bit premature, I would argue. Not really doing too much, when you need to do a pawn push, right? Like when you make a pawn push, you just have to ask yourself, like, even if the pawns come off, does it do anything? And I would argue no, it doesn't really do anything.
Pawns don't come back, right?
Yeah, pawns don't come back. So you can't move them backwards. So c5 a little bit premature. You don't really have like the rook in the open on this file yet, so it's not really doing that much.
Oh, d5. I like this move very much. You cannot capture with a pawn because queen e1 was a checkmate on the first round.
Right.
And so, now?
Ketty has a very good point here. Don't blunder checkmate, guys. Would be, very Twitch chat to do it, but still, don't do it. You don't want to be blundering checkmate. I mean, this is going to go into one of those end games where black is just better. I mean, we'll see black play for a win. Harika is the one playing for a win here. White is extremely passive. And this is why I keep saying you got to be extremely active in your games, right? Like this rook is on b1, and its whole purpose, its whole life is just, you know, protecting against this. And Alexandra's also running a little bit lower on time.
All kind of end games are losing here. Pawn end game, rook end game, maybe draw. But also bishop endgame will be really bad for white. So this is already 3 opportunities for black. And for white, okay, she's finding some counterplay on the queen side.
I mean, she does have the one good thing about Alexandra's position is that she has this pass pawn, which means that it's very difficult for black to try to do something while, you know, trying to also prevent your opponent from pushing.
Yeah, look at this rook e8 move. It was so strong. And now f pawn is gone.
Well, okay. It does show draw, but you know, with so little time on the clock, we really might see anything happen.
Yeah, there was the best option here. What Harika did, she did not bring the king in the corner. That could be really, really bad. To bring the king in the corner. That's what actually I never do. I always bring the king in the corner because I think it's safer there, but it's not. It's not safer.
It's honestly so difficult to tell sometimes because you run the risk of getting checkmated, but you also have to consider not letting your opponent. And this is just winning. Okay, so we're gonna go back a couple of moves, and I'll just point out very briefly what went wrong here. Basically, you know. She missed the fact that if king takes f4 here, there is bishop to d6. And this is a very nice fork. Very nice fork.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was quite unfortunate. Harika.
Wait, we have a tie, 6-6, right?
Yes, I believe after this game it should be 6-6.
Wow.
Harika is coming
cool.
back.
Yeah. Harika is coming back. It's now Alexandra is in a very bad situation because she had 3 points advantage, and I would not be shocked if she's still thinking about this queen blunder on a6, because that's what I usually do.
Yeah, I mean that combo was very, very well played by Harika. Very tricky gameplay, but that's kind of what you expect in Blitz events, right? Where it's a little bit more unpredictable.
Yeah, 6-6. That's great. That's great.
Yeah,
a very
absolutely.
close match.
So far, things have been looking. They were looking like they were going to Harika's favor at the very start, and then Alexandra won every game that. You know, she could really, anytime Harika really made a mistake, Alexandra was there to catch it. But now it just looks like Harika is coming back.
Coming back.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's cool. Yeah, talking about Alexandra in that game back then, I said the first part of the story, but the second part was when she understood it was a draw. She has these, emotions, and she is those chess players for showing that emotions. Some players are holding it and not showing, like you're upset, you are unconfident with that. But there are a number of players, they are openly showing their emotions, like Garry Kasparov, for example. Like his emotions are like, you think that there is some tsunami coming, but no.
Right.
It's just like that. And I was so scared. When I was playing against her.
I believe that. I think so it's actually really interesting because there's this girl, Goryachkina, right? And she, if you're familiar with Goryachkina, she is very known for having like the most stone cold face on the chessboard.
I think she has a laser. It's like,
yeah, she just looks like she's shooting laser at her eyes, but she's a very nice person and she's very sweet. So it's always like, it's like competitive sports, right? Like when you're on the battlefield, it is what it is. But when you're off it, it's kind of like you're all friends. So
she needs that to feel herself into the fight. That's what she needs for herself, not for the opponent. And chess is really nice sport, actually. Like, we're sitting so close to each other, we used to, and you show so much respect to your opponent. No matter you win, no matter you lose, you are still showing big respect.
Right, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, over here we got another slightly better position for Alexandra. Harika's openings is what I'm saying is she's avoiding theory, but Black gets very comfortable positions out of them. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that she's able to convert them, which is why Harika's comfortable playing them. But you wouldn't be playing these openings in a proper, classical game because Black would have more time, right, to catch all these strategic mistakes. Like, I mean, this is a very bad pawn structure. This is an awful pawn structure for White, I would say. There is quite close to no potential for attack because, right, if you're attacking on the king side, if your opponent's attacking on the king side, then where do you really want to counterattack? Well, in the center. And you might be like, okay, but why the center? Well, it's because the center is what we tell every single beginner that it's the most important part. If you control the center, you control the rest of the board. Well, currently, White has very little control of the center, so you can't really just start expanding.
Yeah, what I know about attacking is like it's better to have control over center or have a blocked center. That makes you makes your attack on the king side or whatever king is easier when you have a stabilized center. But if you are playing against a player who attacks your king, the first thing what you're doing, like, okay, you are defending some threats if there is a checkmate or whatsoever, but you're trying to open the center, right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Every time you just want to open up the center. I mean, this is just a little bit better for Black. There's the a2 pawn that's currently hanging a little. There's the e3 pawn that's a little bit weaker. The king is looking not that safe on g1. Trying to defend that a2 pawn at the cost of potentially losing your e3 pawn is something I'm not entirely sure about, because I would argue that you can just give up the side pawn rather not lose like your whole pawn chain, right?
Yeah.
Like,
if you lose e3, you're gonna lose f4 and g5 in next moves.
Exactly. So you would rather lose the a2 pawn, not the e3 pawn.
Yeah.
So I gotta be careful here as white for sure. Oh, this is just. All right, well, Alexandra, we were just saying how Alexandra didn't have a good last game, and now it's just looking like Harika is not having such a great game. I would have taken with the knight, honestly, but I think Kosteniuk also thinks that her knight is really good on f5, and I have to agree with her, right? But it's probably just, I think in these positions, you just want the bishop. But Harika's decided to not capture back, and now it's going to be quite a painful crush from Alexandra, where white just can't move her pieces.
Yeah,
there's
Queen
nothing
B7. I love this move.
Yeah, there's nothing to move. There's absolutely nothing you can do.
Queen knight h4 here can pin the knight.
One of those positions, once again, you don't want to play this as white. You're just waiting to slowly lose. That's possibly the worst. Sort of.
Wow, there was a good game from Alexandra.
Yeah, very, very clean. There was not a single mistake. It was just a strategic crush. And that's what you're really looking for, I think, when you are playing chess. Because at this level, that's the incorrect term, but there's a lot less of coin flips, right? There's people are blundering a little bit less. So that was a very good example of how to play that kind of position as black, how to slowly make sure you win the game, where when your opponent doesn't really make a big blunder. So
we have a new game already.
Yeah, we're seeing these like very slow openings from Harika that got me a little bit worried, because it's just way too easy for white to, or for Alexandra really, because Harika does this as white as well. It's a little too easy for Alexandra to get an advantage or equalize straight out of the opening. And realistically, what was going wrong with Alexandra's previous games was that she's slipping a little bit under tactics and time, but none of these positions have been that bad for her, honestly.
Yeah, and also it's might be something like when you are winning the games and you're not losing that much, you are just losing the concentration. And meanwhile, Harika was, fully concentrated when they started 3+1. That sometimes happens to me, like when I'm playing a match. And I'm winning, then I'm losing the concentration, and I think that it's easy for me.
Yeah,
not forgetting that it's not easy.
They've been playing for 2 hours already, and they're not just playing one game, right? They've been playing multiple games, so it's definitely very exhausting for them as well. Like, you have to keep in mind that they're human. Playing this many games in a row is quite not entirely the most easy thing to do. A lot of pressure as well. So
yeah, what do you think, like, to play one classical game for like 4 or 5 hours, or to play this format event, like when you have I don't know, so many games, different formats?
Honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot. My psychologist likes to ask me, what do I like to do for myself? And the honest question is, I don't think I do a lot for myself. I think it's really, for me, it's always about what do people enjoy watching a little bit more, right? Because my thing has always been like, bring chess to a larger audience. And my personal kind of choices matter a lot less. So I think I would say, as a viewer, I prefer watching these formats. If there were going to be more events, it would be watching this sort of format rather than watching a lot of 6-hour games, because watching 6-hour games, as long as you can rotate through games, it's not that bad. But if it's just one game, then obviously it gets a little bit drier.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's true.
But yeah,
It's
these
gonna
games
be
have been,
huge. Huge challenge for World Championship match.
the World Championship match is the World Championship match. I think is going to be good though because it is the one biggest thing, right? It's like the one chess event that everybody tunes into.
Yeah. And there are going to be a lot of side activities as well. So
exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And okay, so white this is a very interesting structure because it's a bishop that's hanging, but the queen's also hanging. So Harika's move the queen before she's able to try to take this bishop. Now, you don't really want to, I was just going to say, you don't really want to play that, but I guess Alexandra has different ideas. I was going to say, isn't this pawn a little bit weak?
Oh no, then the bishop from g7 will be also open.
Right, so now the bishop is open, but you also have to consider Harika's major pieces are all in the back rank. So that makes things a little bit more difficult as well for her to really get an attack going, just because her pieces are not active, right? Like if your opponent doesn't have attackers, then she's not really threatening anything. So I think that's the kind of logic that Alexandra went with here.
Queen c4 right here.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, white is going to defense this a4 pawn. That's that's the question which bothers me a lot.
I'm guessing white is just not going to defend it. I think maybe you're looking at like f5, f6. I was just going to say f5, f6, but I think it's a blunder in this situation because there's bishop takes b2, knight takes a4 for those of you.
And take on b5 then.
Yeah. And I mean, I have not calculated this through, but I would just argue that in a blitz game, this is exactly what I want to do if I was playing the black pieces with a little bit more time and my opponent's slowly running out of time. But unfortunately, Harika decides to go for rook to c8. Okay, that is probably, I would say knight takes because there's no knight takes back, and then there's queen takes c2.
Checkmate. Yeah.
Checkmate. So, and then if f6, trying to lock in the bishop.
Maybe bishop h6.
This bishop h6. Yeah, you don't have g5. This looks very painful for Alexandra to defend. But Harika being such an aggressive player, she didn't spot bishop takes b2 the previous move. I would be very surprised if she didn't spot knight takes a4 on this move, right? She plays it instantly. Yes. Yes. And we do see that bishop h6, and this should be a better endgame for Harika. Pawns might be equal, but piece activity is definitely not equal.
Yeah.
Just trying to close that bishop, like that h4, you just know it's to support g5, but
it's a tricky move.
yeah, it's one of those moves that you gotta be really careful about, because if you don't spot it correctly, well, I mean, you can move the rook, but you could potentially also lose your bishop. But this should be an easy win now for Harika.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
This is
maybe
a little bit rough here.
Oh, see.
You can't take that.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, you can't take the knight. There's a back rank checkmate. Yes. Yeah. Can't quite do that. Just making sure.
Okay, Harika plays h6 and she says, "Bring it again, did horse on b5. I will take it now."
Yeah. Quite painful to play this as Alexandra. I mean, you just know that there's no chance for you to win. Or, well, I mean, I guess there's always drawing chances because it's a blitz game, but even then, you just have to make sure you don't blunder a knight too.
She didn't go for d8. Knight a5. No. Strange.
I actually wonder if Harika will be able to convert this. I would argue the pair rooks are better than trading it off, because now you're going to have a little bit more difficulty trying to expand. There's always knight to d7. Oh, well.
Okay. That's scary.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a little bit more difficult, right?
Yeah. The knight is super tricky piece in the end.
Yeah, knight is very tricky piece in the end game. I guess your winning idea is just to move this bishop away. Like, you don't have to use the rook to defend it. I'm not entirely sure why Harika. Yes, see, that's what I was talking about.
She has to,
Yeah, not entirely sure why she was.
And also, knight on d7 is pretty much dropped right now, and h5 here we have the pawn is going to go forward. Oh God, 4 seconds for Kosteniuk.
Yeah, Kosteniuk's facial expressions are saying it all. I think she was surprised a little bit that Harika eventually stopped using her rook to defend the bishop.
Why is that? Okay, is it easy way?
This is an easy win. Yeah, this is an easy win. Rook versus 2 pawns. Even rook versus a pawn past the 4th is a draw, so you got a bishop and 2 pawns.
What?
So
Bishop g1 was winning.
It's probably it's more or less winning either way. Yeah, but you're right. Bishop g1 just cutting off the rook is a very good idea too. Ketty is 100% correct. Just a very quick brief look at this position. If you just go bishop to g1, well, you know, rook can't capture this pawn anymore, and if you just take, then it's promotion. So really well played by Harika. That endgame, even though not the cleanest, did the job, and that's what's really important. And I was just like, as was mentioned before, I was finding it a little bit slightly funny that Harika just insisted on using her rook to defend the bishop. Like, you can't move it, you know, like you're able to move it, but she didn't realize that for 10 moves or so.
Yeah, but that's actually when you have this mood that, you know, you have to defend, but you don't have to. You can
exactly
move. Wait, Holland, do we have, like, this is final game in 3+1 or?
Yeah, this will be the final game in 3+1. The timer has gone down to 0. It's currently 7-7, so the score is completely equal. And Alexandra has gone for Alpha 0 strategy of h5, h4.
Yeah, she likes to play that. She likes to push the corner pawns. a5, we saw that too. And h5, we also saw that pretty much in her games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of yeah, you might think the queen was hanging, but that was a check, right? So all right. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about this open H file. I mean, Alexandra is going to be castling on the queen side.
She can castle on the queen side as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I like this. You have some plays, you know, f5 can get you some space. Maybe even e4, yeah. Knight d5.
Mm-hmm.
The point is that I think the end game is way better for black because of open h file.
Yeah. I mean, I think Harika's position here is just relies around defending the h pawn and trying to put pressure along the g file.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is
yeah, and also black can also move the knight on e5, d3 at some point.
That's exactly what bishop e5 is for. This is a very smart move because Alexandra is threatening obviously h2 pawn, right? But if you play bishop, this move is very, very smart in terms of strategic planning.
You might get scared of that h2 pawn, and she has to take it.
But if you let your opponent's knight get to these squares, it's just very painful as well. So not trading off the bishop is a lot more accurate. And the reason that Alexandra didn't take immediately on h2 is because the g pawn would also hang after the series of exchanges. And you can argue going for this, but the king is looking quite weak.
Yeah.
So queen to g7's play first in order to protect g6, but you got rook g1 coming in order to put more pressure on g6. And I'm gonna say we'll probably see. Okay, well, but then there's also knight here. So I mean, it's just this pawn. This pawn is.
Okay, here we have a rook end game.
Yeah.
There is an extra pawn for black, but the thing is how she's going to convert it. B5 or f? Okay, she stopped f4. before I said.
Yeah, well, I don't think f4 is a big worry. I mean, I'm gonna be honest and say this is, even though black does have the extra pawn, there, once again, right, principle of two weaknesses. You need two advantages in order to really make a progress in kind of
my
a
point
rook
is like to play f4 and then to get into pawn endgame, and this f1 might
Right.
be a weakness, but I'm not sure if it's enough to win. Maybe we're
Well,
just
if the
walking
rooks-
into the grace.
If the rooks come off the board, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you, Kenny. I think it will be a win for black, but there's white will just, you know, be permanently down a pawn, I would say,
Yeah.
and just play the rook endgame because there's no there's really nothing that black can do to improve her position because it's so close. So the king isn't even able to enter, and additionally, just one pawn, right? It's still going to be a draw if all the pawns technically got exchanged off.
Yeah, what I think we're gonna see this pawn endgame soon, like, or not. I don't know. I don't know. F4 is not working.
Yeah, if it's not working, the king can't.
And
really-
okay, we're gonna see.
Okay, well, it's worth a try. It's no. That is not it.
No. Bar says a lot.
Okay, so Alexandra assumed that she has time for this, but then she totally forgot that white, like, if white played king d1, king e2, this obviously she's gonna make it on time, right? 2 moves versus 3. But
I
there's
feel
just
Harika. And Harika feels me. D3 is the move that
yes,
we blundered.
yeah, d3 and just
not
takes-
Harika.
Yeah,
Kosteniuk,
Alexandra overestimated position a little bit too much. Completely forgot d3 exists. I mean, d3 is the shortcut to bring your king. There's just 2 squares here, but anybody can make a mistake like that when you're trying to push too hard for a win. You were mentioning this earlier, actually, for Harika. I mean, Harika had to, you know, just accept the draw sometimes, right? And the same applies to Alexandra. Sometimes you just have to accept it's a draw, and it's okay.
Yeah, true. Because the king was so badly cutted from 7th rank.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this is easy win. Just extra pawn in the pawn endgame.
It went from being up a pawn for Alexandra to a winning endgame for Harika, so that's pretty much, you know.
Wow. Kosteniuk looks very upset right now. We need to send her some good vibes.
She seems quite upset with herself.
Smashing some glasses on the wall.
That was a painful endgame to play. That was a really painful endgame to play. That is the end of the 3+1 portion, and the next portion is going to be the really fast 1+1 bullet with 1 second increment. So we are going to be resuming in approximately 4 minutes, and yeah, I mean, Harika has ended up being up 1 point actually, whereas in the first portion she was down 2 points. So this will be exciting.
I did not really see that coming. That Harika would, in the end of this format, Harika would be in advance with a 1 point.
Yeah. All right, we will be back in 4 minutes. See you guys soon. Stay tuned. All right. All right, and we are back. Before we jump right into the games, we do have a quick announcement on July 4th. We're going to have the Junior Speed Chess Championship. It has a prize fund of $35,000. So, you can tune in and see how all of these youngsters who are much younger and much more talented. No, I'm joking. I can see all of these youngsters, crush it in some blitz chess. So, all right, without further ado, let's get back into the match between Harika and Kosteniuk. Yeah, this will be exciting.
Okay, here's the question when it comes to Harika. Which one is the name and which one is the last name? Do you have any ideas of that?
So Harika. I've been trying to get her name pronunciation correct. So I can never tell if I'm supposed to roll the R. I can't quite remember how it is.
Harika.
Yeah, I'm not sure
how
if
you
I'm supposed
say
to roll the R. I usually pronounce it Harika with a small R, like a small rolled R, but I'm not entirely sure if you're supposed to roll the R.
Where this R comes from, French or
this R? The R, so I actually have some friends from India where the R in their name is rolled, but I'm never entirely sure. So
Harika.
Yeah, Harika. Okay.
Harika.
Without the R roll. Got it. So yeah, we're going to be entering the 1+1 portion. It is the fastest. The games will start at any moment now. Ooh, and it's going to be exciting because 1+1 means it's bullet. So
yeah, there's going to be lots of excitement, I guess, and lots of blunders. But we like to say it, so
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, bullet is my favorite game mode because it's a coin flip.
Yeah. I agree with that. I like bullet too, even though I'm not so good, but I still like it.
Yes. Okay. So we have seen this opening already before. I think all the openings we've seen so far have been played a couple of times. Yeah. Just very normal stuff. Getting to that middle game more or less okay. Nothing crazy. Nothing insane with theory, which I really like.
Yeah, they play all the openings because both players. Harika and Alexandra, they play d4, e4 as their main opening. So that's why they're very comfortable. And this is something that I really envy of these professional players. They can play d4 and e4, whatever they want. And if you play these two moves, that it means automatically that you can also play knight f3.
Yes.
And also c4. So this is a cool thing.
I mean, they're able to play everything, and you don't want to grab that pawn on c7 on that one move, because if you take it, then all of a sudden there's rook to c8 and rook takes c2. So I don't want to help your opponent. All right, well, knight takes f7 looks like a very big threat here. What's interesting though is after knight takes f7, there's rook d to f8. Knight takes h8, and then there's rook takes the bishop, and then your knight's actually trapped. So that's you have to remember, this is bullet. Harika is spending so much time. It's 1+1. 1+1. You don't have that much time to be spending on each move. You kind of have to just go. This time difference is quite insane.
Yeah, indeed. So what is, for the moment, Alexandra has huge time advantage on the clock, almost like half.
Yeah, it's pretty much just half of Harika just has half the time of Alexandra. I mean, that's what we were talking about a little bit earlier, right? Alexandra is a bit of a speed queen. She's very good with shorter time controls, and we might see that a little bit more perhaps in the 1+1. We had predictions that didn't entirely come true, which worked out very well for Harika in the 3+1 portion, but in the 1+1 it does definitely feel like Harika just temporarily forgot at the start that it's 1+1. Whereas now she's been keeping her time at around 20 seconds, just a draw.
All right, draw is a good for both players, I guess. They are both happy.
Okay, knight to c3. Wow, this is a new one. I haven't seen that one yet.
What is this? Is this move has a name? Somebody? Anybody?
I think it's just going to be a transposition into probably the KIA, the King's Indian attack, really soon. Very well-known King's KIA. Yeah, this is a KIA.
Oh, that's Mies's opening.
Mies's opening, but it's a transposition into the King's Indian attack. Not to be confused with the King's Indian defense, which is for black, but for white, when you play the same structure as the King's Indian attack.
Yeah,
really interesting.
I'm really impressed how Harika is bringing new things, new things as we're going to end this match soon. She's giving us more surprises.
Yeah, I think she has really remembered that it's 1 minute now. She's playing really fast off of the opening. In the previous game, it just seemed like she forgot that it's 1+1 and not 3+.
Yeah, and also hard to adjust the new time control.
Exactly.
You just need like 1, 2.
You just need one game, right? Exactly.
Yeah. You need the one punch to wake up.
Yes, exactly.
To know that that's a bullet.
Well, we do have to remember that Harika is up an entire point over Alexandra. I mean, this 1 point doesn't matter a whole lot when it comes to bullet, but she just has to basically ensure that don't lose. Just don't lose. But of course, that's easier said than done.
Absolutely, it's easy. I don't know. What do you feel like? What's more comfortable for you, when you are a point ahead or when you are like half point down? Here it's impossible to have half point down, but okay, one, let's say. I mean, which one is?
Honestly, I would say that I like both, I guess. I think if you just have if you're down too many points, you just sort of give up, right? If you're down 1 point, you feel this pressure of, like, you just always feel pressure is basically what I'm saying, unless you're like losing so badly then you just stop caring, because that's happened to me a couple of times before.
Yeah.
But otherwise it's just constant pressure. If it's anywhere close, it's just pressure. It's just always stressful.
Yeah,
chess is just a stressful game, honestly. So, yeah, chess is just stressful.
Yeah. We started a TV production in Georgia, and we had one commentator, a guy who got really emotional during the game. Oh, knight f6. No, it was a check. It was a check. Okay. And then he was talking about something, and he brought some of his experience, and he almost started to cry. And then in the end, he was like, "Don't bring kids at chess."
Yeah, just don't bring kids into chess. Also, don't play knight to b6 here, Mommy. Actually,
and the president of the federation, was supporting us financially, this TV, called immediately. I said, "Cut this live off right
now." Yeah, you gotta be encouraging people to enter chess. We do have another draw.
Yeah. Oh, that's 2 draws in a row in bullets. Yeah, it's not happening very often.
Always. Yeah. I mean, every time Alexandra plays e4, Harika is just like, nope, we're not going to theory, and plays the exact same structure she actually plays as white, but like on the other side. But I honestly think Harika is very happy with these draws, right? There's 18 minutes left in the timer for the 1+1 portion. If she just draws all the way down. So,
yeah. Oh, what happens if it's a tie? What is the structure in the?
Yeah. So if it is a tie, actually, then a tiebreaker for additional 1+1 games will be played as a mini match. And if it's still tied, then they'll play another additional 2. And if it's still tied, then a single Armageddon game will be played.
Okay, Armageddon game.
Yeah. If you're not familiar.
Okay, go on. Because it was in the qualifier, it was a different format, right? We had no qualifiers. Yeah.
Well, I think in the qualifier, someone was just asking me, why isn't Nemo computing this? Well, you see, someone decided to not play very well in the qualifiers and didn't end up qualifying, but we don't talk about that. I mean, we do get the absolute pleasure of seeing masterclass players like Harika and Alexandra play. So I think it's significantly better than me playing. So I have
you couldn't say that. You couldn't. We want to see people. And that's what actually chess is missing. New people, young people don't have enough chances to come and compete. They are
true.
They're amazing. They are very strong, sharp, tactical. Why not? We need new faces, of course, in chess.
I appreciate it. Maybe one day
you have to
try
good
next
enough.
time.
Yeah, next time I'll definitely try. I'll try a little bit more.
I played only final qualifier just for fun. I was so tired. I was like, okay, start not to start stream, start so not to start, and I started, and I made my chat cry and sad, and I was playing, and I was like,
this move. I don't like the rook exchange because I was gonna just say queen knight is better than queen bishop, but I guess that doesn't matter. This is gonna be another draw.
Yeah, but also here in the end game, bishop is not really active because the e5 pawn is blocked, b4 is blocked, and now white should try to catch this knight here on.
Well, the knight does have a lot of good squares to go to.
Yeah, d5 is fantastic.
And you just wait. Oh, well, it doesn't matter because if you take, then there's this. I was going to say, just blunder. But yeah, you can play a6 anyways, and this is just going to be a draw. There's actually no way for either king to enter, not just, you know, it's a draw.
Oh, okay. I thought that black would try with f6, but now it's not going to happen.
Yes. This is well, it's fun because the knight stops the king from coming to f4, and you should definitely keep stopping the king from coming to f4. But at the same time, you also have to stop black's king from coming to d5. So this is going to be a repetition. We'll be going to a draw. There's nothing any player can do to improve the position.
Yeah.
All right, another draw, which is quite rare, you know, for Bullet. It's quite rare to see.
3 draws in a row.
Yeah, 3 draws in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just too fortresses in that position. Exactly. There's nothing else you could really do. So.
Oh, I also have an access to this cool mod is here. I'm just come.
Oh,
cool.
Nice.
That's cool.
All right. So another King's Indian attack setup from Harika. We haven't seen anything like super aggressive in the 1+1 portion yet, which is quite a different sort of vibe from their 3+1 match where both players will play a lot more aggressive. I mean, I do think, you know, it's the pressure of playing 1+1. You have a lot less time to really make those kind of choices.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and also I have a feeling that they are not risking too much, like they did 5+1 or 3+1. They're just not risking that much.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, once again, draw is a draw. Nothing wrong with that. It's part of chess.
It's a half point. I have a coach who always tells me that draw is a half point.
Yeah, a draw is just a half point, you know. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Yes. Like both of these players are obviously extremely strong, so there's no reason that there should be a very decisive result, you know? Like there's no reason to be watching and saying, one of these players should definitely be winning. Everything has just come up. Like they're playing these really slow openings that don't really contest the center in the hyper-modern style of things, sort of in a way, where Harika has just very obviously stated since the start of the match that she's not willing to go into any theory and just plays, you know, these more solid. Yeah, solid. Just go into the middle game, play that middle game. That's what she's comfortable with. She does the attack in the middle game. This is looking quite scary, f4, f5, but you just don't take on f5 and you just play f6, exactly. And there's very little way for white to actually make progress here. You can capture on g6, but even then, black is not required to capture back, right? Yeah, absolutely not necessary here. So
yeah. I see another draw coming.
I see another draw coming as well. Yeah, lots of block pawn positions, no sacrifices. Yeah. Both players are not taking their chances. I actually, wait. Whoa. Okay, and that was a blunder. So after f takes g6, there is the threat of queen takes f6, but you got to remember your opponent is able to make moves too. So this is actually a pin, and Alexandra is going to take the first point.
I think
the first win in the 1+1 portion.
It's true. I think Harika just forgot that the queen is pinned, and she was considering this take on c2, but then take on f6 with a check, and you just make a move in a second as well.
Exactly. So once again, my community knows this meme where you can do what you want to do, but then it's smarter to stop what your opponent wants to do, and then the smartest thing to do is do what you want to do while stopping what your opponent wants to do. Now, Harika just forgot that her opponent could do something, so
I totally got the point.
yeah, it's like the progression of chess thought, right? Like when you just start out in chess, you just do what you want to do, and then you get a little bit better, then you realize, if my opponent can't do what she or he or they want to do, then it's a lot more. Yeah.
I always play with this style to avoid what my opponents want. I sometimes ignore what I really want to do.
I usually play with the style of if I checkmate my opponent before they checkmate me, then I win. That's how I usually play chess these days. It's like, yeah, if I just checkmate them before. I mean, this position is better for black, but I would still say this is one of the most solid positions you could possibly play. This black is just better, but yeah.
This pawn structure doesn't really gives you a lot of tactical motives or
exactly.
Yeah, black is better because of the bishop, right? King just castled on the long side.
See, once again, this light square bishop is just useless. It's quite literally useless. You can't do anything with it. Goes back to what we've been saying a lot during commentary today, that you just don't want to have that light square bishop. You don't want the bishop the same color of your pawns once you reach the end game, because it's not useful anymore.
Yeah.
So
I think it's time to play 92. Get rid of this knight on 4. Please do it. It will be a problem.
Oh, I'm very scared about this. I mean, the king took the travel all the way over here, right? But now Harika, this is one of those times when she is actually attacking in the 1+1 section. I think this is the first game I've seen where she plays a little bit more aggressively.
I don't really understand this rook c4, bishop c4. There was a knight d3 check, right? With some shots.
Okay, this is going back towards a draw. I don't think swapping off the pieces was the correct call there when your opponent's king is weak, right? Once again, just gotta keep up some pressure.
Oh,
okay, well, free pawn. Okay. All right.
The endgame can be really good for black. She's going for g4 pawn as well.
Yeah, so pawns not holding hands, I would evaluate this slightly better for black, just because they're not holding hands. That's 3 pawn islands to black's 2 pawn islands. And I mean, the good thing about white's position is that she has a pass pawn still, so once the pawns come off the board, it's going to be a draw regardless, though.
Okay, she's going to give the knight and take the h1. It's a draw. Another draw. Oh my god.
What's happening? All right. Well, not usually what you see from Bullet, but
what is the chance of say today the playoffs and then Armageddon? I think it's huge chance.
I always like to joke it's 50-50. It either happens or it doesn't. I know statistics doesn't work that way. I do have a minor in statistics, guys, so don't. But like it either happens or it doesn't, right? That's kind of how it works. But I actually do think there's a quite likely chance that they do go into playoffs with the current state of things. There's still 8 minutes, however, so that does leave space for like 3 or 4 more Bullet games. So
yeah. That's true.
There is no longer any lead for either player, and it's just become, equal.
It's very equal match, yeah.
Exactly.
And it was really nice how first Harika managed to come back, and then Alexandra managed to come back. And here we can see in Alexandra's eyes that she's in the game.
Yes. Pair bishops in this position looking quite good. Harika keeps going for this pawn structure, and I just have to say it gives her like a quite awkward position to play, because the idea is b4, right? You've mentioned this before, b4 and knight takes d4, but you always have to be very careful about when to do that break, and it's difficult to do it.
Yeah. That's true. I like f5. It's just opening the f file, and you have very strong pair of bishop. And the question is, where is the other rook for black?
Yeah, well, black decided to give up the exchange.
All right.
I missed that part.
Yeah, honestly, I think I missed it too. I just started looking at, okay, well, we don't have the other rook. It's fine. But I like black has very good compensation for it. I would say this knight is doing absolutely nothing on c2 currently. But you do have to be a little bit more careful.
Rooks, bishops. I was thinking about bishop d7, bishop c6, but seems like she has the same idea. Maybe b6 now with bishop b7. No?
Yeah. Okay, just not losing the queen, right? That was a bishop h2 threat. I do like bishop h2 regardless. Maybe just take on e2. It feels very simple to play, but not entirely sure what Alexandra was afraid of there. It's the bishop won't get stuck on h2 or anything. So
I think she was just focused on the idea to get this light square bishop on this file, and that's why she was.
I'm just wondering, why not bishop h2 and take? Am I missing something? Like, am I really missing something here? Okay, so let's say I go here and I just take. What am I missing?
Nothing.
Like this looks so good, right? Yeah.
She's focused on the different thing. That's actually what happens to me.
I think she's focusing on trying to checkmate rather than just going for the material advantage. But that's something that's really easy to get caught up in when you play bullets. So it's like once you either see the idea or you just don't see the idea at all, right? Like it just completely slips your mind that that's possible.
Yeah. You don't have time to look for the other move. You're just making sure that you're not losing in the end of this line and just playing it.
It's quite literally the tunnel vision thing that happens a lot at lower ratings. If you don't, not just that, if you just don't see the idea, how can you possibly play it if you just don't? Like quite literally, right?
Can't ask too much to yourself, right?
Yeah. Like if you can't see it, then how are you gonna play it, right? Like that's quite simple. It's as simple as that. But obviously we do have slightly higher standards for Alexandra. I was quite shocked that she didn't play that, because that would have been a very good chance for her to get a 1 point lead. I mean, regardless, Harika did not defend correctly.
Was that really necessary to sacrifice exchange here?
Absolutely not. I think it was quite the opposite. You absolutely had to not sacrifice the exchange there. Yes.
Oh no.
Well, that does mean that with 4 minutes to go on the timer, Alexandra has 1 point higher now, and Harika has to.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
It means that they will play 2 more games, or it's not.
Yeah, something around there. Around about 2 more games. 2 more games will happen. So Harika is in a must-win situation, either this game or the next game. But she absolutely can't lose another game, which is a lot of pressure when you're playing black and you're still playing openings that somehow turn into a Sicilian.
She plays Sicilian. I'm really surprised why she's not going. She plays Sicilian.
Oh. I mean, she just looks like she's been playing everything except what's considered,
Harika plays Sicilian. That's her main line in the opening. And I'm also surprised why she's not going.
Yeah, a lot of...
But also, Kosteniuk plays main line in Sicilian with bishop g5, Rouser.
Bishop g5, Rouser, right?
Rouser, yeah. Or Najdorf, and that's quite sharp. Maybe she's avoiding that.
Yeah. Well, this endgame is theoretically a draw, but I'm not really sure what to expect here. A lot of things can potentially happen. Now, it would be really smart for Alexandra to just make the game go as long as possible. So these endgames are exactly what she wants, right? Just making the game go as long as possible lowers the chances of Harika actually having a potential comeback.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. To control also the time.
Exactly.
Full players are doing that a lot, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there is a +1 increment per move, so these are not, strictly bullet games, but rook to b1, okay, it has to defend the b4 pawn, the knight's just coming in. It's once again, pawns are not holding hands, so they're not very happy.
Yeah. Oh, here we have a very interesting comment that top players don't want to show their main repertoire online chess. But what do you think in this case? I think this is more than online chess.
I mean, I would say that I mean, this is a pretty big event, but I actually like I think more of what Harika is thinking is that she doesn't want the preparation to come out, right? Because Alexandra's probably prepared a lot against her classical repertoire. I've played tournaments where I've just gone like move 1 b4 because it's like, yeah, I don't want to get prepared. So it could be anything really. We'll make sure we can ask her after.
But I think like playing in this event where the first prize is $20,000 and total prize fund is 5,800.
So
little help here.
Yeah, so first place is 20,000, second place is 12,000, and third place is 5,000. So there's quite a lot of money going.
It is way much more than you can have over the board chess tournament, right? To be honest, so I think she's not really shy to show up for.
Yeah, and it is a draw at the end. A rook, 2 pawns versus rook knight is not going to be able to get you the win.
Okay, this is really tough game for both of them. For Kosteniuk, we have she needs 2 results. For Harika, it's only 1 result to get into the playoffs.
Yes, Harika absolutely has to win this. So, this is potentially the last game of today, depending on how Harika plays it. If she does win, then there will be playoffs. But if she draws or if she loses, then it is over, and it will be the end of actually the knockouts for Harika, because it's just a one knockout. But she does have some good potential in this position, I would say. She's holding the e5 pawn really well. There is the d6 weakness that is coming up. So the d6 square is a weakness. Quite easy plans, I would say, for white here. Just doubling rooks up on the d file, but unfortunately, I would say that black has, Black can see that, so with this, the reason that black is okay with this is just because she's able to play e5.
Oh, bishop g5, I like this move. But okay, there's no any.
Yeah, there's no bishop to e7. Yeah, right. Right, bishop e7 would be a great move. Unfortunately, there is still knight on c6.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine playing this game knowing you have to win in order to have a chance.
Yeah. Well, I think it's best not to even think the current score. Just that's how I passed my driving license exams. I had no idea how many answers I had correct.
That's how I approached school.
It was the best, actually. It was the best thing. It was so easy and smooth to go.
Yeah, honestly, if you just don't think about the result and you just focus on doing the best you can, obviously that's the correct way to go. But unfortunately, easier said than done, because nerves often get the best of us, especially in a situation like this where it's a must-win situation, right? Like as Harika, you just know that, Black's pieces are just so active. This is a problem. This is the issue. When your opponent's pieces are just so active, you have very little you can possibly do.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the most practical decision here from Kosteniuk to get this exchange for activity.
Yeah. I like the fact that Harika has winning chances now. Just, potentially swapping off queens is good. Potentially maybe moving the queen here and then playing rook here. Just don't take the draw. Just don't accidentally take a draw.
Yeah.
That's really important. Just playing very solid right now. They both have about 10 seconds left on the clock with +1 second increment. Ooh, and she does get the queens off the board. That makes things a lot easier for her, but at the same time, right. So no queens obviously means that no checkmates, right? But now Harika still needs to be able to successfully convert this position.
And it also means that you can pre-move some like king f4, king e3, like easily pre-move that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god, stop this pawn! Stop it.
No.
Stop
Oh no, she
it.
let it. Oh
Stop
god.
it.
I actually think it's impossible. I mean, you can play king to e3, but then there's knight to c4 with the fork. So
Yeah.
Haruka was not aware enough about this pawn.
This pawn just, now everything is different. Like with this pawn on c2 should be, or bishop should be stuck here forever.
Okay, this is something else. I mean, this is not going to help because the bishop is still here. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not entirely sure what Alexandra's plan with this was.
She wants to get the rook.
Oh, wait, no, you can't draw this. Just keep pushing. Yeah, just like you can, like you still have the bishop, right? Like you still have the bishop. That's the whole point. As long as this doesn't become a queen. Oh, we're going to see playoffs now.
Yeah, I have to make another cup of tea. It's gonna be a longer day than we.
Yeah, it's gonna be a longer day. Yes, we're gonna see playoffs now. Haruka defended that beautifully. Wow, this has been intense. Oh, this has been extremely intense.
Yeah, that's the most practical thing you can do. Whew.
Wow.
Oh, well. We have a tie.
And Haruka does, win. So according to the tiebreak rules, we will all see playoffs. And yeah, it's been an exciting match so far. So make sure you guys are staying tuned. There will be a 1+1, 4 more games of 1+1 actually. And if they tie those as well, then additionally, there's going to be another 2. And if those tie as well, then there's going to be Armageddon. So, I'm not entirely sure what we expected, but we arrived at this moment, so we're gonna see it through to the end, right? We're gonna see it through to the end. Lots of exciting things coming forward.
Yeah, and that's cool.
And we're going to go actually straight into it. So the players don't, they just have to go. They just have to play
without break.
Without a break, they will just play.
Oh my god.
Yes. Absolutely. So I'm pretty excited to see the rest of these games.
Yeah, there are lots of like talks around chess. Like, is it chess really sports? Like, you're spending so much energy even without moving. There should not be a question of this.
I mean, honestly, I don't know why it's even a debate because I just have this very I guess like I don't care attitude towards it. It's like you just play, you enjoy it. It doesn't really matter what it's classified as. I think I've always had this debate with people. People love to label things, and I just things don't have to be labeled. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's literally what I agree with.
You don't need to prove anyone anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Never.
Anybody. Well, the games are off. Haruka has the starfish on her forehead. This is a very chess pose, very chess pose. I absolutely love it. So she is gonna keep playing the openings that she has played before. So the King's Indian attack. We got the typical Haruka opening coming forward. And there are 4 games, so it's not like either player is in a complete must-win situation. They're probably going to take this a little bit slower.
Yeah,
sort of see how it goes.
It can be slower than their time, though.
Yeah. Well, the engine really didn't like that King H2 move, and I am entirely not sure how I feel about Knight takes D4. I'm also not sure about how I feel about Knight takes F2, but not because of... Okay, well, I was going to say, instead of Rook takes F2, there was probably Knight to D5, but, it's bullet. Anything happens.
Yeah, not to allow your opponent to have a hand-holding pawns.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay, well, just undoubling White's double pawns, but helps them. Okay, well, that's not exactly what I'm looking for either. I mean, the EL bars is gonna go, up and down regardless.
Yeah.
The point is that these pawns are now fixed, right? And if these pawns are fixed, it just means it's a permanent weakness. Now, you need 2 weaknesses typically in your opponent's structure in order to beat them at any time. So just not something that
and when there is a weakness in your opponent's position, you just your play is easy. You know what's your plan. Your plan is your opponent's weakness. So that's why we're always looking for something to attack, something to target.
Yeah. I have an analogy for this that's not entirely suitable for this broadcast, but it's really important that you can't just win with one weakness, because your opponent can spend all of their effort in defending that one weakness, right? So you need to. But in this situation, whoa, that is a nice discover attack, and we do get the rook on e1. Haruka trying to come back in with the, just getting the exchange back, but the pawns are gonna just start dropping. Oh, I don't know about that.
What is that about?
Okay, opposite color bishop endgames, usually a draw. I'm not entirely sure why we did not just go for this. I mean, maybe she was a little bit scared of...
I was even thinking bishop d6 to target g3 pawn.
Yeah, a lot of things were possible there. I think the correct choice was to not swap off into this endgame.
Yeah.
Black is a little bit better,
safe way, but this is very likely to end in a draw. Like how Black gonna prove that it's a winning position.
Absolutely. Once again, principle of 2 weaknesses, right? You just have one pass pawn. Alexandra has that one advantage, but it's not going to be very effective.
They're still playing. Actually, I had this kind of memory when I played a chess game under 10, I guess. I had 2 extra pawns in opposite color bishop, and I played so long. I was the last one, and arbiter had to bring my coach. And my coach came, and he said, "It's okay. It's a draw. It's okay.
It's a draw." Yeah. Yeah. So when I was younger, I played against Aryan Tari. I think we were both like 9. I mean, Aryan's obviously like a 2600 grandmaster now, but we had a opposite color bishop endgame draw as well, and we still talk about it to this day. Like that is quite literally what kept us in contact, really.
Wait, you played against him?
Yeah.
Youth championships?
It was a Nordic school chess championship. So in the Nordic countries, they don't separate. They don't only separate groups by gender, but at least back when I was a kid, I don't know how it is now, but I grew up in Finland, so we used to play in the Nordic tournaments a fair bit.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that in Finland.
Yeah.
Was it cold?
Yeah, it was absolutely freezing, but Canada's not much better. So I think I've just resigned my life to living in very cold countries. Yeah. This is gonna be another draw, but like don't tell them I said it.
I was in August in Finland, and I was like, where is summer? Like, where? Where is it?
Yeah, there is I lived very far up north. I lived 700 kilometers away from Helsinki, up north. So it was like basically the Arctic Circle.
And oh my god.
It was quite literally, summer is unheard of over there.
Oh, yeah. Cool. It's cool at some point.
This is absolutely gonna be a draw. I mean, this dark square bishop on c1 is really just not the most... Well, actually, it opened up a little bit, so it could still be useful, but there's too many pawns on the dark squares for it to be really...
Also shooting for nothing there. So,
yeah, they've been absolutely loving... Like, they love to play close positions. That's what I've realized from them. Yeah,
they are not making any mistakes at the opening goal or middle game. Like, really bad mistakes that cost them a point. So that's why we have so many draws. Actually, I was really expected to be a really close match. That actually what happens also in classical chess. But
yeah, I thought that we could have a result here, just because, as we were talking about Alexandra, how often she plays online chess tournaments and how
Yeah,
often
I was
she
expecting
streams.
more decisive results as well.
Yeah.
But I would say that even still, 1+1 doesn't quite give you the same flagging techniques as you would in regular 1+0. So I think she's very well aware of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're just gonna shuffle pieces around a little bit, and we're gonna. It's very hard to make any kind of progress if Black just keeps the pieces like right here, right? Like the knight's protecting against this push and defending this pawn. That's all you really need. You're just gonna move things back and forth here.
Oh, she's preparing G4 right now. G4 and
right, G4
H5.
and H5, yeah. But even still, I would argue opening up the H file doesn't do much.
Yeah.
Even if it was open, even if Black
Yeah.
did not play Rook H8.
Yeah, because now Rook H1 has to be there stuck forever.
Yeah, pretty
to
much.
defense.
Not quite sure what the Rook's doing on C6. Not quite sure where it hopes to go. C7 is protected.
What's the future plans?
Yeah, what's the future plan? You know, like you can get into a cool looking square, but you.
How
you
do you
don't
see
have-
yourself in like 10 moves?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Knight F2!
No.
She missed it. Oh no! And she plays it
She saw
anyways,
it now.
but-
She saw it now.
I mean, Black is better now. I would have to be 100% honest and say White pushed a little too much. This is like where you say something, you just accept the draw, right?
Yeah.
You have to accept the draw. I mean, this bishop is so useless. It has nowhere to
But
go.
at least it's there. At least if this bishop is not there, this c3 pawn will be dead.
Yeah. No, we
Wow.
have seen the
What was that?
draw. But I mean, Haruka was definitely winning that in a few moments. Even at the end there, I think if she just had more time, was able to really think about it, she would be able to push on. It's one of those positions where it's like in bullet, it's probably just a draw. But if you were in classical, you would actually be able to win it.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. Like, it's hard to judge anyone in this time control, and it's not good to judge anyone in general. So we're not
absolutely.
doing it.
Yeah, this time control is just brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Yep.
There's nothing really you can do about it. I just can't calculate that much. So, okay, we got bishop back to b6. All right. Well, there is going to be c4 push probably at some point, just trying to undermine Black center. That's the idea with these openings where you delay your progress in the center a little bit. Yeah, this is definitely such an even matchup. And don't forget, if they draw all the way to the end of these tiebreaks, we're going to see another set of tiebreaks. And if those are a draw too, then we'll see Armageddon finally.
Oh. Yeah, Armageddon is always fun to see. What is your preferences if it comes to Armageddon? Would you like to choose white color or black color?
Honestly, I have this bad habit of throwing away tempo anyway, so I would say I'd just rather be black, because playing white for me doesn't make a large difference at all. I'm not very good with those positions.
Yeah, it also makes sense for me to have, like, you know, two results option.
Yes. Well, if Armageddon's also a draw, then that means Black wins. That's the whole point of Armageddon, is that even if it's a draw, somebody wins. That's the decisive result part of Armageddon. Not entirely sure who gets to pick the color, but might be.
There are different ways.
Different ways to decide.
Yeah, usually also it happens by the computer or by the high rating players.
Yeah,
choose.
the higher ranking. Well.
And at the tournament that I played, it was chosen by the players with the arbiters hanging the the pawns in the
like
hands.
That, of course.
Old style, old times.
Haruka's position is a little bit better here, just because there's more to do. She has a little bit more like diagonals for a bishop. You can see how this bishop is, blocked by a pawn here, but at least Haruka has her bishops on open diagonals, really. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, Armageddon is specifically 5 minutes for white, 4 minutes for black, but black can draw to also win the match, or obviously just win to win the match as well. So
yeah.
Well, Well, after opening up the position, the rooks are going to become very strong. So this is definitely favorable for Alexandra. Definitely a little bit more favorable for Alexandra now. And there's also the pawn on a5 that's just a little bit weak as well. So gotta keep that in mind.
Yeah. Now what Black is trying to get the knight at the very position, and on the way, why not to get a pawn? Oh no.
Oh, an exchange sacrifice. I don't know if it's exchange sacrifice or it's just an exchange blunder. But
I think second.
I'm gonna give her the benefit of doubt and say it's an exchange sacrifice. She does get the two pass pawns, but I still think rooks are better in this position because they're just more active, right? You have the rook on the 7th. Rooks on the 7th are absolutely devastating. You don't really want to go for that. I don't think that gives you chances to win. It's better to just draw and not win than to lose and just not even have a draw. So
yeah, and white is just collecting all the pawns now. B5, B pawn is also quite weak, and then we're gonna have the game on the same flank. That's tricky, of course, for white to win, but white has way more chances here, of course, to win.
I think with optimal play, it's very close to a draw, but in such a time scramble, I'm pretty sure with optimal play, there's something about how bishop and versus one rook and 3 pawns on just one side, but okay, timeout.
What happened?
You just time out. But it is harder to play in bullet, right? So Haruka is gonna be up 1 whole point. Wowie. That means Alexandra is in a must-win situation now.
Yeah, this is the final game in this tie breaks, right? The 4th game.
Yes. So if Alexandra's not able to win this game, then this will be the final game. However, if she's able to win, I'm liking her chances so far. She has a very nice center. Haruka just needs to draw this in order to move on to the quarterfinals. Very, very, very strong matchup. I mean,
yeah, true.
Whatever result happens, has been an exciting match so far. This is once again as a reminder, guys, we are already in the tie breaks. This is the first set of tie breaks. So 4 additional games. This is the last round of those 4. If Alexandra ends up winning this one, then we will go to an additional 2 1+1 games.
All right, who wants to see Armageddon? That can be a good question for our chat on the Twitch and also on YouTube. So that's
absolutely
that's good to know if we are ready for Armageddon.
Are we ready for Armageddon? Yeah, if Alex wins, then we get Armageddon, you know? Oh, I was gonna say she looks like she's really pushing for that win, right? She looks like she's just forcing this attack. It won't be super successful because she's not castled and the queens are gonna come off any moment now. So, she's really forcing this. I mean, it's just simple. It's h takes g4, and if you take, then you actually just don't have an attack. This is a very nice bishop. And the king, if the king's not castled, then you don't have enough firepower with the rooks.
That's true.
So she realizes that and comes back and exchanges the queen stuff. Well,
it's no worries here for Haruka. There's no attack. C4 is coming, and whole king side is simply controlled by the knight from f6.
Exactly. Simple position to play for black.
Maybe take on b3 and then knight c5. No, she goes to knight in on e5.
Yeah, knight e5 probably does a little bit more. It does the octopus where it can control 8 squares from the center of the board. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it when they do the octopus with the knight.
Yeah.
Oh, did it not?
I think it dropped on the way.
Maybe she must have misclicked that.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm sure with that.
That's an absolutely free pawn. Oh, you don't. Okay. Well. Yeah, that was. Oh, she just wants to draw. Oh, that's so smart. Of course, she doesn't need to win. She just needs to draw. Of course.
Oh, knight f3.
Oh no, Alexandra trying to not get the draw accidentally right.
No, there was. But
That will
actually, King cannot really escape from these checks, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can't. You really can't. You have to accept the draw. But I mean, it was Alexander trying to not draw because she knows she's losing already, right? So she just has to.
Yeah, I loved Harika's reaction after.
Yeah,
after
I mean,
winning this
that
match.
was a very, very, very close match. That was actually crazy. That was absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's how we fight. That's how we fight. I like it. I like this spirit of Harika that she didn't give up actually when she was losing with 3 points. That's cool.
Yep. This will be very exciting. So we are going to go on a short break and we will see them come back. We'll be back actually with both of the players with a very short post-match interview. So we'll see you guys in 3 minutes. welcome back, everybody. We are here with the participants from today's lovely match. We got Alexandra as well as Harika. How are you girls feeling after today's very, very intense and very long match?
Of course, I'm happy. I just didn't get much time to even think because I was down to, I think, 3 points in the 5+1. So I was just trying to play some unclear chess and try to see what happens. And then when I equalized in 3+1, somewhere I felt like now I have chance, and I'm not very sure about my bullet performance. So I was just trying to figure out, like, to play fast. And overall, it was a good day for me. It was bad luck for my opponent. So I think it could have gone either way. It's a good day for me.
Yeah, I think Keddy and I were mentioning at the very start of the match, there were some very amazing positions for you in the 5+1, but Alexandra was like just holding on so well and really, really, really fighting back. So it was very, very well played by both of you. I just wanted to, congratulate both of you guys on the great performance. Hope you both enjoyed the event, and congratulations to Harika for moving on as well to the quarterfinals. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
I can leave, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Harika, congratulations. Okay, I didn't have a chance to talk, but I'm not sure why they invited me, but well done. Good luck in your next matches.
Spasiba. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So we do have the pairings and read the results over here. We do have,
another former world champion, Antonetta Stefanova, coming up to face Corey Daisy. Corey Daisy is a really tough one. I know.
I've actually played her intercontinentals over here in America, so she's incredible. Very intense match. I do want to say, like, it was just so close, such a close match, just incredibly well fought out by both of them. And it's just like, wow, we really went all the way down to the tie breaks. So
yeah.
Intense so far.
Yeah, it was really, really tense. But we actually expected that to be here. And we saw really happy face from Harika, and also Alexandra was there. And it's always so tough to show some emotions where both players are there. It was a bit,
Yeah, absolutely. It was extremely intense.
To be too high for that. But Alexandra is well experienced chess player, and this is just another tournament for her, and she will play events as well. So all we can send her is the best wishes and best of the luck in the other events that probably coming soon.
Absolutely, and do stay tuned. We're going to be having Arena Kings on this channel really soon. So hopefully you guys all stay for that and have fun. Before we go, just want to mention there are, $58,000 in prizes. So make sure you're staying tuned for each of the individual round of 16. And then we're going to, after all of those are done, we also have a lot more exciting quarterfinals, semifinals, and of course the finals coming up for all of you guys.
Oh, yes. Yes.